Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Hope, where all your dreams and hopes come true. No, I'm just kidding. But it's going to be another dope class tonight. I'm excited about the material. We're going to continue off with some of the discussions we had last week, and we're going to also discuss some new thoughts that come from the book Ego is the Enemy, as well as some amazing discussions on Nana's side. So I'm excited to watch and learn on my end too. So let's just get right into it. Title is called Ego and Experience. So let's recap last week, some of the stuff we talked about. Also, if you have questions, we're going to create some pockets of time for questions. So just if you have a question in the moment, write it down, please. Don't forget it, because your questions are what make this class just more conducive. It makes the class gel, because there's a lot of people who may have same questions and don't raise their hand. So your questions are of absolute importance. But we're going to create pockets of time where we're going to say, all right, anybody have any questions? And then we can fire off in those pockets and then keep rocking. So please take as many notes as you can. But before I start, I'm going to say this. This is an entrepreneurship class. Everybody good with that? This is an entrepreneurship class. Now, I know we talk a lot about psychology and different bits and pieces of the breakaways of mental and emotional and human stuff that may seem to like this might be a psychology class or a behavior science class, but this is an entrepreneurship class. Remember that. The only times we break away when we say this could also apply in relationships, or this can also apply in how you raise your child, or this could also apply, but everything that we're speaking on is in the context of entrepreneurship. I know sometimes we forget, or it can get kind of gray, but never forget that. And here's why. In the context as a black person, an entrepreneurship class that will give you X's and zeros in terms of how to run a play. Hey, if you want to be successful, run this play. Here's 5 steps. This is what you do. Here's a funnel. Here's all these specific things that they can give you to say, and you'll be rich, or you'll be successful, or your business will blow up. We know as black entrepreneurs, in the context of being a black person, there's much more complex mental and emotional trauma that comes before entrepreneurship. So if you can't fix you, nothing you do is going to move. Nothing you do is going to move. If you don't fix you, nothing you do is going to move. So the love that we have and the humility that we have over time, you heard it. Nana told the story. When he first came in the game, he started just giving X and O's. Why the fuck isn't it sticking? Why does that work? All right, let me give some more X and O's. Let me give different X and O's. Let me tell the X and O's this way, until he realized the emotional damage that we contain as black folks comes before the entrepreneurship. So we got to get to the root. The root is you. Who you? What you've been through? Who are you? Where you come from? What is creating the self-sabotage in your life that's preventing you from even executing shit that you know? You know what to do. But you're in a corner crying, or you're in a corner balled up, or you're in a corner running, or you running away, or you distracting yourself with some kind of drug or this or that or that. Like, and the humility it takes over years to say, oh, let me keep going back. Let me go back a little bit. Let me go back a little more. Let me go back a little bit more in what I teach. And guess what we're landed on? We're landed on the us's. Because guess what? When we learn to value ourselves higher, guess what happens to our business? Goes up. When we learn how to forgive, guess what happens to our business? When we learn how to forgive ourselves, guess what happens to our business? When we learn how to forgive others, when we learn emotional agility and not to be 0 to 100 real quick, guess what happens to our customer retention rate? So it all boils back to X's and zeros and numbers. Oh shit, I stopped flashing on customers and my customer retention rate went up from 50% to 76%. It all ties in, it all taps in. When we learn to value ourselves higher, and we learn not to try to prove how big and bad we are in every room and become a better listener, guess what happens? We start tweaking our products and services based on what customers told us they liked and didn't like. And now, damn, we're making more money. Meanwhile, this whole year, we just been talking about emotions and this and ego and causations and all these abstract concepts that I thought had nothing to do with entrepreneurship. But in the course of the year, you realize everything does. Everything. Every fucking thing we talk about is entrepreneurship. So please don't get that twisted. Please don't get that twisted. Because there have been, and we halfway through. So I just want to reiterate that point. Because there have been people to say, I want to take an entrepreneurship class. Okay, go learn how to do an Excel spreadsheet then. Go learn how to write a business plan. Go learn all that shit. And then execute it, and let's see what happens. Then we'll say, oh shit, your bandwidth is taxed. You're in survivor mode. That's a cognitive distortion. You're not using first principles thinking. You're not using second order thinking. And they'll be like, what's the fuck is that? Yeah, they didn't teach you that in the spreadsheet class, huh? Or the business model class or the business plan class. 1% of people who will take that class can take it and run with it because they already worked through most of their emotional shit and their trauma to where they're at least functional enough to perform. For most of us, shit. We in quicksand. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, we're in quicksand. And until we acknowledge that, if you've been searching and looking for entrepreneur classes, 1s and 0 classes, and you can't understand why you've spent money on an entrepreneur, man, somebody told me yesterday they spent $3,000 on an Instagram class on how to do Instagram. I done told them to come here so many times. Hella times. Man, I spent 3 G's on the Instagram class. As soon as I learn the game, I'm gonna give it to y'all. I'm like, that's dope. But the real game comes before the class. The real game comes before the class. Game is before game is you. Because here's the deal. When you learn the shit that gets taught in this class, once Instagram dies off, TikTok dies off, and all that shit is not the thing anymore. Because right now, y'all generation don't know that this shit dies. We had some shit called MySpace. And Black People Meet and Black Planet and all kind of shit that y'all don't even know about that we was on, that was a big app of the time. You think it'd never die. Shit gone, right? Shit gone. So when everything new thing phase is in with the game you have, you'll be popping in every phase because you have the fundamental tools, not the surface tools. So we cool on that? It's an entrepreneur class. It's an entrepreneur class. And we're all students, and we never gonna stop being students. When I'm done and I go sit over there, I'm a student. Again. Only time I'm not is here for this hour. I wake up in the morning, I'm back a student for 6 days. 6.5 days, 6 days and 7 hours. Because I have to be. My life, my livelihood depends on it. Your livelihood depends on how much of a student you are. So your livelihood, damn, that's, you don't realize how important it is. Fucking learn like your life depends on it. Notes. You ever see Art? I bet you if you looked at his notes, books he read, look at his fucking notes that he wrote outside of the book. I bet you, I ain't even seen it, but I know what it looks like because of how he retains the information. You have to. I was a slow kid in class, so my notes damn near look like the book. Because I'm writing damn, that was a good point. Let me write that down. That was a good point. I finished, it's damn near the whole book. Because I need this shit so bad. I want it so bad. My life depends on it. Now my not life or death, but my livelihood. So, entrepreneurship class. Let's recap last week. So, last week we talked about some of the traits of survival mode. Survival mode traits. So, I would love for you guys to really just know what they are. Put them somewhere. Write them down and know what they are. So it helps create consciousness in you. Like Shamar was telling me before class, once you read that list, now you start seeing shit. It creates a consciousness in you. It's called the reticular activating system. That's one of that's in every human brain, the reticular activating system. And it's almost like a spectrum. It's like a spectrum scout. It allows you to see things outside of your once you see something one time, then it'll correlate for you. It starts correlating things for you. Be like, oh shit, I ain't never seen a white Range Rover with black rims before in Oakland, and now I bought one. And as soon as I bought it, I see white Range Rovers with black rims everywhere. The fuck? That's a 20-year-old thing. The fuck? The fuck? The fuck? I'm noticing that as a little youngster. That's the reticular activating system. Going off like, oh, look, there it is again. Now you're like, where's all these at? If I would have known it was this many in the town, I wouldn't have bought it because I want to be different. But it also works for you in those ways. Once you see something, you're like, oh man, I notice it. I didn't think I was doing it before, but now I notice it and now I see it. And we've all used it our whole life. You ever I know in my particular case growing up, my mom was a clean freak. My mom is clean freak. If it don't smell like pine saw, it ain't clean, period. So as an adult, I clean the house. I'm a pretty clean guy. I'm trained by her, clean the house. But if my mom was coming over, I'd see dirt in spots that I didn't see before. The fuck that dirt? Oh shit, that. Because your reticular activating system takes you to the next spectrum, and now you can see different. So hold on to that list, because the opposites of those lists are where we want to be. That's our sweet spot. We talked about road to recovery. 3 things. There's several things, but there were 3 that were outlined. Does anybody remember what those 3 are? They're to me one of the 3 most important. Can anybody? Road to recovery.
I think this was the right one. Was it the knowledge, practice, and immersion?
Yep. Those are the 3. Knowledge, learning, reading and learning. Absolute importance. That gives you the data you need for your brain to start noticing. Constant. continuous, feeding your brain. I got a question for you. Instead of reading an hour a day, why don't you just read 8 hours on a Saturday to last you through the week?
Two reasons. One is if you can get to a point where you won't have time to develop contextual understanding because you're reading so much, you're just overwhelming yourself. Number two is if you read once a day, the reason the practice needs to be fresh in your mind because you're battling every day, you're making decisions every day. So by reading once a day, it's almost like the same as meditation, the same as how you only work out. Why do you work out once a day? Why do you work out 5 days a week as opposed to 5 hours in one day? Right? It's so I can stay in a rhythm. It's a rhythm thing. It's not about it's not about consuming content. It's about also being in rhythm. And like if you ever watch sport teams, I think when Patriots beat the Rams, they were focusing on Kurt Warner, who was a quarterback, and they realized, nah, he's not the focus. It's actual Marshall Falk, because what made the Rams so tight wasn't the accuracy of the quarterback; it was the rhythm of the team, and Marshall Falk was controlling the rhythm.
Yeah. Rhythm. When you create rhythm is everything. So once you create a rhythm, rhythm is frequency. Rhythm creates frequency. Frequency creates spectrum. You guys catch that? We can only see on a particular spectrum. You know what spectrum is? It's rhythm. Slow rhythm or fast rhythm. So the rhythm depends on our eyes can only see a particular rhythm. So when you read, you're putting yourself in a different rhythm. And you read every day, now the frequency every day changes, it changes. And now you move to a different spectrum. Code. You gotta working out does the same thing. That's why we sound like fucking broken records. But you gotta understand, in the darkest times of your life, the toughest times of your life, and I hate to be like a bearer of bad news, but you're gonna have some tough times. It's safe to say that because every human goes through some shit. The rhythm that you're practicing for is to help you get through those times as you're elevating. It's the truth. And the more concrete, the more solid, the more invested you are in your rhythm, the more your rhythm is going to come support you in those times. Understand that. Because in business, it's funny how sometimes the biggest clients come in those times. Biggest client opportunities. How come you couldn't come 2 months ago when I was feeling good and everything was fine? Oh, you coming now. Now you got to rely on your rhythm. So, knowledge. Second is immersion. Man, it's so important. So important to immerse yourself around people who are where you want to be, are peers who can engage with you. Like I ran into Nana at the gym yesterday. Man, it's just so good to just be around a homie like that. Like fucking don't even want to work out, just want to sit there and talk. Because it's an exchange of energy. And you know what level you on. So it's not, you can cut through the shit. Hey, what about that? What about that? What about that? So to immerse yourself around people like that all the time, it makes it challenging. It's hard for you to completely fail. Because you have layers upon layers and filters upon filters of people who's going to G-check you along the way. in a friendly way. Have you thought about this? Or they may. I'm sure not more than me and set up here and said some shit that he may not even knew was happening in your life, and you was like, shit, that's me. Yeah, well, that's a good point. Knowing it was all up in your guts, like it was your like everything about your life. Oh, well. Sorry, sorry. I was gonna say something, but I'm not. Anyways, um, see, y'all fucked up my whole thought. The point is, there's times in conversation that sometimes things can be said that applies to you so heavy, and they don't even know you going through that, and you're like, oh, let me write that down. Let me write that down. Because just in random flying back and forth information, your peer group is everything. Is everything. Third thing, practice. Practice. Practice, practice, practice. Like my boy AI says, practice. Now, you can't practice being in a fucked up situation, but you can put yourself in uncomfortable situations consistently all the time. When you in the gym, that's an uncomfortable situation. That last rep is uncomfortable. Running on a treadmill, uncomfortable. Walking up a hill, stairs, all that, uncomfortable. So if you continuously put yourself in uncomfortable situations, then that gives you practice. It gives you practice.
Listen, we talking about practice.
You know, that pool that keeps, what it does is it gives you a little more calm in survival mode. Survivor mode takes you to your core, who you are. It takes you down to your primal of who you are. Like I said, if I jerk at you, everybody's gonna have a different response. Somebody gonna run, somebody gonna duck, somebody gonna swing at me, based on your propensity and who you are, right? So that can be that as primal as it is. Over time, you can train that. You can train it. That's why I used to give the example of my son when he used to practice free throws. He got really good at free throws, 10 in a row. Poof, poof, poof. So then I would just stand next to him in his ear. You weak. You garbage. Boo. Boo. Then he'd bricking. Sit 4 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Because the survival mode kicked in. My dad doesn't approve. That my dad doesn't like me. My dad is a survivor. That's gut. So I say, look, this is what's going to happen to you when you go to the other people's gym anyway. You could do this with me, you'll be fine. And over time, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10 out of 10 again, and he look at me like, fuck you. You ain't shit no more. And I'm like, that's exactly what we need to be. You can practice out of that. Practice out of that. And that comes from putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. What are you running from? What phone calls are you running from? Who's calling you and you not picking up that you ain't answered because you just running from it, so you make excuses not to talk to that person because it might be an uncomfortable situation or phone call. That's practice. That's practice. What work is sitting that you don't feel like doing because it's tedious or it's hard or, oh, it's a lot of work? That's practice. That's practice. Is a room dirty? Is a lawn messed up? Is a backyard unorganized? Is the garage terrible? And you had it on your list to do? Those things, excuse my voice, I'm getting over some shit. Those things are practice. Survival mode practice. Any questions before we move past this?
Hello. All right. So I had one question. You said it was three things for the road to recovery. I only have two, which is knowledge and practice. What was the middle one? Huh? Immersion?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. All right,
Immersion. Yep.
All right, cool.
Next question.
Um, yeah, so I didn't get none of the survivor mode traits. I think was vestibular activities activity activator system. I just want to know what those traits were, honestly.
Um, sure. No, so the survival mode traits were 10 last week. So I can get.
Also, make sure my microphone on.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't hear my voice. Okay, good. I like to hear my own voice. The thing is that also all the classes are pre-recorded. So if you send us get to know your email, you can have access to all the previous classes, and then you can go back and watch the survive. We've been running survivor mode for the last 3 weeks. So we record a class, so if when folks come in like that, they can come in and they can catch up on some of the stuff.
Yep. All right, next slide. Ego is the enemy. Ego is the enemy. Sure is. All right, next slide.
The most dangerous thing is a threatened ego.
So, the most dangerous thing is a threatened ego. So, this is a very simple statement, but it's really deep. And it's really at the heart of our culture in terms of where some of our limits are. Because we place our importance on emotional perfection. Now, there's a whole, we can go deep all the way back to slavery as to why this is what it is. We can go all the way back to slavery. But understand this, at the surface level, being that economically we are at the bottom, and there's very little assets that we have. One thing we do have is respect. You're going to respect me. And we hold respect so high in terms of how people going to talk to us and how people are going to respect us, how you going to look at me. And we place that over everything else. And the minute that's threatened, there's some of us in this room that be willing to die for that or kill for it. It sounds extreme, but it's true. Have you ever had road rage where somebody disrespected you on the road? And you chased that motherfucker down, you cut him back off, you flipped him off, and you was like, what? Not thinking about what they got in the car, what they own, none of that. You was willing to die or kill over some respect over a stupid ass driver who just made a mistake. You got kids at the house, you got a job, you got a whole rest of your life to live. But when your ego is threatened, it's the most dangerous place for you to be if you don't have that emotional agility. You can stop me when I'm lying. So if we are willing to go those extremes, just off a car, just off of bad driving, how do you think that will affect us in our business? Customer doesn't like it. Customer wants a refund. Customer's rude. Customer had a bad day. Customer wrote a bad review. So this is super, super critical for you if you're going to move forward. Because what makes the ego stuff so critical is that it's like playing Russian roulette with your business. You know why? Because you can build some shit and get some more momentum. But you never know when that ego is going to get threatened. It could be year 1, year 2. It could be after you've generated 100,000, 500,000, 6, a million. If that ego hadn't been threatened yet and it happens to, and you haven't checked it, everything comes crumbling down. And you got to start over. Telling you, this is a big one. This has been one of my biggest issues. Because this is tied to survival mode. And when you come from such survival mode, you ain't got shit. Respect is all you got. I'm willing to die on it. I'll stand, whatever, whoever, respect. You're going to respect me. And that's horrible. That's horrible if you're an entrepreneur. Horrible. Now, it's different if you are threatened or your life is threatened in the moment. But if your ego is threatened, our culture will literally roast you for that. Walking away, man, you got it. It's good. I don't want no problems. Man, you have it all day. I'm sorry. I apologize. Our culture, if it catches you doing that, will roast you. So we've created our tribe. A tribe. We promote destructive, egoic behavior. But entrepreneurially, that's not what wolves do. That's not what wolves do. That's not what wolves do. The thing about the wild, all the animals in the jungle, bears, lions, tigers, any ferocious hunter animal, none of them have egos. None of them. If you pull something out or you look big, it's going to stop for a second and back up. Even if it's a bear. If you look big and you take a step towards it and like aggressively, it's going to stop and be like, wait a minute, let me reassess this. Is this a real thing? Is it not? Okay, no, I think I still have the upper. No, I'm going to keep going. I have the upper. Never mind. That was a fake. If it's 3 lions sitting there eating an animal, if you're good, you can run them off. 3 lions, if you're good. Because they don't have egos. Wait a minute, this might not be good for me. Let's back up. Now, don't let them reassess the situation and be like, wait a minute, these motherfuckers is bluffing. Then you better run. Humans are the only ones that behave like that. Think about it. So this is probably one of the biggest killers in black community. Biggest killers. It's responsible for a lot of divorces, killings, unnecessary violence. And in entrepreneurship, a lot of businesses fall hard because of this. We walk into entrepreneurship a lot of times wanting to be that person. I'm the man, I'm the boss. So, although that could be true, the times where you need to not be, or to be the servant, or to fall back, or to sit down, or to say I'm sorry, you don't even calculate that. But it's going to be part of the game. And when you do, and you don't know how, oh shit. I'm so sorry. That ain't it. Next slide. So this is a real picture, by the way. When schools first start becoming integrated, and she was the first black girl in the school. You think she need her ego in that moment? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You see the look in her eyes? That's That egoic voice in her head reminding her that no, you are that woman. You a queen. You got it. Ain't nobody. You got it. Like that's when that voice is okay. 'Cause she got put in that situation. There are times where ego is not your enemy. Well, ego is never your enemy. But there are times where your ego running wild will prevent you from certain emotional downfalls. Severe depression, suicide, all those detrimental emotions. That's why at the beginning of this class we said we're about to teach the book Ego as an Enemy, and by the way, ego is not your enemy. You just need to learn. You need to learn when to subdue it, and you need to create an override for your ego, a bypass for your ego. Be able to turn the voice as a knob, 0 to 10 when you need to. Not let it control and run you. But there is times where, man, internally, you know you talking about. I know who you talking about. I'll slap this shit out of you. Think I won't, man. Watch when I come back. I'm gonna tear this whole place up. There's times, but next slide. And this is where it gets where you create the slide of it.
Most businesses are started out of ego and delusion. What you do after traction can make or break your business.
Okay. So most businesses are start out of ego and delusion. Okay, I got this idea. I'm gonna start this company. It's gonna become a $1 billion company, and it's gonna take over the world. It's gonna be the biggest thing ever. Right? A lot of businesses start like most people start their businesses like that. And the people that come around like, yo, bro, sis, I don't know if that's gonna work. No, you just hating. Look, I don't think that's gonna work with you. Like, do you got a plan? Like your ego is front and center and it's holding you down. And you got these grandiose ideas, even delusional ideas about the success. It's gonna be easy. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna press the go button on it, and all the millions is coming. A lot of times it's ego and delusion. Also, it can come from the threat to the ego. I watched an interview of a woman who had a multi-million-dollar company, and he said, "How'd you start your company?" And she said, "I went to my husband one day and I asked him for $10, and he said, 'What for?' And I said, 'I'm never asking you for another dollar again.' And I went and started my business." Right? Ego. And bravo. IBM. You ever heard of IBM? Big computer company, Silicon Valley. At the time, it was a giant, one of the big blues. You know how he started IBM? His name was Tom Watson. Tom Watson got into it with the CEO of the company he was working for. I think it was called NCR. So the dude said, "You're fired," to Tom Watson. Tom Watson said, "Fuck you. I'm going to go start a company right across the street that's going to dwarf this piece of shit." And started IBM. Ego, right? It could be good at the beginning. At the beginning. At the beginning. I've started a lot of shit off of ego. A lot of shit off of ego. You don't believe in me? You don't believe in me? Okay. See what happens when you don't believe in me. But what you do after traction creates a tipping point between a rise and a fall. Because if you don't let that ego go, okay, so how are we going to do this? What do you got, and what do I got? What you went out there and told them you was a 10 out of 10. What are you? All right, really, I'm a 4 out of 10. So we need to fill in them other 6. If you can't get like that, then you're basically on a slippery slope downward. What you do after traction can make or break. So ego can be a fuel. Ego can be a fuel. But humility creates the true building blocks you need to build your business. Ego, we'll say this again, ego can be a fuel, but humility will give you the true building blocks to build your business. That's why mentorship is important. Being checkable is important. Next slide.
Traits of the growth minded. Slack.
Okay, let's stop one at a time. Slack. So here are some traits of growth-minded entrepreneurs. Number 1 is slack. Slack in time. Slack in people. Slack in energy. How much sleep you getting? You getting 8? Or you on 4 or 5 because you got to do this. Everything's so tight. You need slack as an entrepreneur. You know why you need slack as an entrepreneur? Is because we make a lot of mistakes. And you need to be your best. You need to be fresh. And if you don't create slack for yourself, if you're not constantly looking at ways to create slack in your day, then what typically will end up happening is it leads to burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Also, turned on. I swear I hate this dude. Also, on Slack, when things are too tight, chain reaction takes off faster. So if one thing breaks, like if you run a company, everything's really tight. When something breaks, it hits too many modules, it can take you all the way down. So you got to create slack for optionality, so one thing breaking doesn't take down the whole ship.
Man, and it's slack is a lifesaver.
Huge
for the long game. Now, survivor mindset and slack don't go together. It's oil and water. It's oil and water. It's oil and water. Because survivor says, it's only one. It's only one, and I got to get it. And it's only so much. It's only 24 hours in a day. But we're going to talk about that 24 hours a little later. Slack is incredibly important. Next one.
Focused action.
No, we're going to stay on that.
Still last slide. Go to the last slide.
So, focused action. So, survivor mindset says, I got to multitask. I got to hop from one thing to another. I got to have 150 screens on my computer at the same time. I got to brush my teeth, take a shower, talk on the phone all at the same time because I don't got enough time in a survival mode. Growth mind says we take focused action. When I'm here, I'm here. When I'm there, I'm all the way there. If I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. If I'm driving, I'm driving. If I'm in the shower, I'm in the shower. And I immerse myself in what I'm doing, focused action. If I'm working on something, I'm working on it. I don't got to pick up every phone call because that could be something. That could be some money. It could be this. It could be that. Because what typically happens with survival mode is that If you have scattered action, you're all over the place, you're doing 15 things at the same time, you get D's and D minuses out of all 15 of those things. Versus an A on one thing at a time. Focus action is important. And sometimes it's not even logical in your brain because your brain is doing survival mode math, which says, here's this day and I can fit. It's like you're playing Tetris. Survival mode math is a Tetris game. Here's my window of stuff. Let me squeeze everything in here. And you'll see a growth-minded person driving hella slow past you in a $100,000 car, talking to somebody for 2 hours at a time. Oh, I'm just on my way to go get some coffee. And you're like, how the fuck are they doing that? I'm outworking them. It's because they've created so much slack in their life that their focused action is so strong, and they've created so much slack in their life that they ain't got to stress out like you. You see the difference in spectrums as we talking? It's over here and over here. Next.
Calculated risk takers.
All right. So survival mode, we taking risks too, right? I'm gonna not pay this and pay this person. I'm gonna do this and I hope it come. You taking risks all the time in survival mode. Oh, please come through. Okay, and hope it just come in the nick of time. Stressing out. But you're taking risk on the reaction side. You have to take that risk. Growth-minded are taking calculated risk, proactive risk. If I do this, what's going to happen? Or this, if I do, what'll happen if I try this? Now, I have 4 different scenarios in my mind. We want to grow. Here's the difference. Growth-minded people means grow. In order to grow, you have to take risk. You have to. You can't say, oh, I got a bag. I'm going to go sit in this corner and just hold this bag and be rich for the rest of my life. That's not how money is made. You risk it. You spend it. You got to in order to grow. So you're always continuing to take risks. Sometimes you even, your bank account look empty. It's because you've taken a calculated risk on investment in certain particular times that's going to net you and return you certain things. They're calculated risk takers. In order to be a calculated risk taker, you got to be listening hard on the second half of this class. Hard. Because it teaches you first principle thinking and second order thinking and thought experiments, as well as probabilities, causations, and correlations. You hear what I'm saying? So if you don't get what's happening on the second half of that class and really take in what he's given you, is game on a higher spectrum. Even if you don't understand it, write it down. Even if it doesn't hit your heart and be like, ooh, that felt good. You probably want to write it down even harder because you're like, he must have said something that I'm completely don't get that's on a higher spectrum than me. Because what feels good a lot of times is what resonates on the current spectrum you own. I don't know if you ever noticed back pre-COVID, room was packed, right? Rooms used to be packed pre-COVID. And over the course of the class, I would notice this. The 1% in the class who was performing, $1 million or more performers, there's certain shit Nana would say, and that 1% would go, ooh, shit, ooh. The next tier below them, the 300,000s to 100,000 group will all cheer at certain shit that was different. in different parts of the class. Oh man, that's dope. That's it right there. The people who just starting out, broke, ain't just trying to figure it out, ain't got a lot, they would cheer at a different part of the class. Because you're speaking through different spectrums, and it resonates to those people at those particular times. What you want is everything, because you don't know what might be going over your head, might be what you need to pull you up. But you gotta try to pay attention to all of it. You know how I know about when I'm something's over my head and there's something on the higher spectrum when I'm reading a book and the shit gets boring as fuck. I just read 2 pages. I don't even remember what I read. Let me go back. Instead of continuing to read, let me go back. Read it again. I just read it again. I don't even know what all right, let me read it slow. And I will force myself to spoon feed this nasty ass meal down my, because I know it's good for me. I just don't, and I don't like it in the moment. I know this is good, so I'm gonna eat it, and then until over time. And you know the other thing is, if when I evolve as an entrepreneur and get better, if I go back and read that part, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Because that's spectrum. You're moving up the spectrum. So take, like I said, this is an entrepreneur class. It ain't no filler information in here. It's not like we like, oh yeah, slide 2 and 3, that's the shit, but I don't know what else to put in here. So let's just put some bullshit in here, the rest, until, because I can't think of nothing. Everything. Next one.
Move between micro, macro, and meta as needed.
Ooh. People caught in survival, they stuck in the micro. Like me, I was stuck in the micro 3 months. Stuck in the micro. I didn't gave myself jobs now. I got stuff to do. All in the micro. Where I used to have time to think about strategic aspects of my business. How I'm going to move globally as a company. How are we going to move in big pockets as a company? And then what do we need to do in small pockets? And dance around those 3 places. But now in the survival mode, I got to insert myself here, here, here. I'm going to do this by myself. And now I got jobs. Growth-minded people know how to dance between all 3. Win and dip out. Up, get in and get out. That's how you know. That's how you know. When you want to, you have time to go think. You go off and think. If you stuck in the micro, right now you in the doing, you stuck in the doing, you're completely immersed. Even now, even with knowledge that I have about my own survivor, when I assess where I am, I'm like, damn, that's gonna take a minute. I gotta undo that, fix that, I gotta cut that. Cause now it's work to get out of there. But that's the beauty. That's what makes you an entrepreneur, a growth-minded entrepreneur. You know what's going on today. You know what's going on tomorrow, next month. You have ideas about a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. And everything you do correlates between the 2, and you make adjustments, tweaks, pivots around that. Next one.
Delegation, not abdication.
So you have the ability to delegate. You're a delegator. Because you already understand, if you're on the growth-minded spectrum, you know that doing it yourself is not scalable. It's not scalable. You can't scale that. So why the hell would you insert yourself? You know it's not scalable. You can't. So you become good at the art of delegating, leadership, understanding human behavior, human nature, what drives people, what pushes them away, what makes them go harder, causes and effects of different types of motivational styles, reading people better, because that is your new business, not the doing. We was talking about this earlier. I come from an engineering background, and before that, I was a technician. That's my natural state. As a kid, I used to take shit apart. Why'd you take that remote control apart? I just wanted to see how remote controls worked. But you can't put it back together. You broke it, I know. Because I was always loving to tinker with. That's my natural state. Take apart, put back together. Figure it out, to fix something. I did that for 10 years in Silicon Valley. So that was a hard one for me. That's a hard one. That was a hard one for me. But I learned over time, get out the way. Get out the way. And learn the art. And you just can't say, get out the way, I'm a delegate. Delegating is an art form within itself. It absolutely is. How to get somebody to run through a wall, how to get somebody, like all the traits that you have to exhibit to make somebody respect you enough to want to work for you. Abdication is the weak form of delegation, which means I need an IT person, right? Find an IT person, here, IT, and run away. Every time some IT fix it, you don't know shit about IT, you don't know nothing. If he told you that this problem is going to cost $14,000, you like, okay, because you have no idea. That's abdication. That's abdication. Saying, original Courtsmith, I was an abdicator when it came to sales. I'm a tinkerer, nerd, engineer, creative. I design the stuff. I create the ecosystem. You sell. Because I'm a terrible salesperson. So it worked great until it didn't. And then when it didn't, it really didn't. So then I stopped being a punk and I learned sales. I learned how to sell. And then I started loving it. And then I enjoyed it. Then I start really understanding human nature. Then I start coming here. And then I got even rawer at it. Because this guy's a mastermind at sales. Yeah. So I'm soaking so much game. So now I'm looking forward to those situations. So Jordan cracks me up when he comes in and be like, man, come on, you a natural, or like, man, you just good at this stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's hella funny that you say that. Because I was terrible, straight terrible. So now it's easy for me to train, to sit in, to analyze, to help you be better, because I know it now. I know the game. Doesn't mean that I become a salesperson with you, but I'm hearing things. I'm listening all the time. Or whenever there's an issue, we can break it down at a high level that we're like, oh, okay, I get it. Or you think about it. It was an interview with Kenny Smith, and Kenny Smith was saying he had his roommate was a billionaire son in college. Forget what family it was. It was some household name family. They made faucets. Popular name. Did you see it? Kohler. So his son. So the son was a Kohler, the son of the Kohler family. That's who he roommated with in college. And so he was like, so what you doing around? Like, why you come here? Why don't they just make you an executive? He said, no, my dad's rule is we got to start out as being plumbers and work our way up. He's like, why? He's like, because when you in it, if I was just when I am an executive And if somebody tells me that this washer costs 5 cents, I know it costs 2. Because I know how everything works. So abdication is a poor person's version of delegation. Next.
Ability to be in the moment.
You ever talk to somebody and they not there, not with you? If you can't be in the moment, you can't be nowhere. You in the future, you in the past. You hurt behind something happened before, or you worried about something that's going to happen in the future, and you're not right here. If you can't be in the moment, you can't perform. You cannot perform if you're not in the moment. It could be it could be a pivotal situation for you. And if you're always running between the past and the present, because you're in survival mode, then the times you need to be in the moment that can get you out of survival mode, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. So you have to be present. You got to be here. You got to be here now. There's a book, a woo-woo book that I like called Be Here Now, but don't read it. Don't read it. But it's about being in the present moment. Be here now. In anything you do, if you're having a conversation with somebody, you may hear certain key things. You know, Nana talks about content over context. Guys remember that? Is there any way you can really understand context from somebody if you're not in the moment with them? Hell no. I'm just over here listening to the words you're saying. Yep, I hear you. No, I'm with you. I got it. Hold on. Yeah, oh, no, can you do this? Okay, keep going. I'm with you. That person could be dying inside. That customer, what'd you think about it? That customer can be giving you truth that can help make you more money. It was cool. It was cool. If you over here and they say, it was cool. Okay, good. But when you look at them in the eye, they're like, it was cool. You know it ain't cool. Well, hold on. Look you could be like, give me your honest. You could be real. What wasn't cool about it? Context. You got to be in it. You got to be in the moment. Sometimes it's like my normal operating when I'm in a growth mindset, let's say pre this bullshit that I put myself through, right? Sometimes I'll be in the office, customers come in, we all busy. I sit there and talk to the customer for an hour. About anything, whatever, life, whatever. Shooting the shit for an hour. We can have hella shit going on. Why? Because I'm driving my customer experience deeper into them. I'm making an experience with them. So they walk away like, man, that was dope. Man, they hella cool. They just chopped it up with me. That was an investment, calculated investment on my part. Next thing you know, hey Jordan, I got another school that I want to send to you. I was just thinking about, I got another school for you. Oh, you just made me think of it. I got a referral for you. We just chopping it up. That's why I tell, after the business is done, just chop it up and be in the moment with them. Next one.
Redundancy and runway.
Man, and this is tough to do. With a scarcity mindset. It's so hard. Because you might owe so many people. And the good person in you wants to pay all these people before you pay yourself. But if you play in a long game, you got to create redundancy. You got to create a runway, which means how many months can you go in business before you crash? How much money do you got in your bank right now to where if the business light shuts down, boom, how long can you go? A month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? Because that will dictate your longevity. And growth-minded folks are always thinking of that. Now, here's the thing. Growth-minded folks go back to number 3. Still doing that. Meaning, I'm going to take calculated risk and invest money here, but I'm also going to do this to make sure that I have runway, I have redundancy. Now, in a perfect, like this is, in the scenarios like this, does it happen perfectly all the time? Of course not. Of course not. So I don't want you to think that you're a horrible entrepreneur if these things, all of these things aren't in place right now. What I'm saying is, you have to think about this. You have to place redundancies within your business. You cannot rely, if you have a business and you have one big client, that's 70% of your income. You're fucked. You're what's your word?
Oh, compromise.
You're compromised. I love that. I love it when you say it. You're compromised. You're one pissed off situation away. You're one competitor steal away. You're one from everything dropping down. When I noticed everywhere I went in the Bay Area, I saw Court Smith uniforms, I got scared. Shit, I gotta go somewhere else. LA, here we come. I gotta build out here. Because you never know. And humans are fickle. The ones cheering for you today will be booing you tomorrow. That's why I don't get caught up in none of that. None of it. Because I've been there before. So your mind shouldn't be thinking, oh, we blown up. You should be, oh, shit. You mean 90% of our customers is in this 60-mile radius? We got to get out of here. Cool, this is dope, but we got to go build somewhere else and 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 somewhere else. So if this happens and whatever happens here, for whatever reason, I have redundancy. I'm not just relying on one place. Next one.
Can have fun.
Whew, this is my worst one. This is my worst one. I'm a robot. I'm a savage. I'm a worker. I work. I'm a worker. I go hard. Like my mentality has a lot of times I'll have fun later when I get it, and that's the worst mentality you can have as an entrepreneur because it can get exhausting. You got to learn how to laugh and enjoy moments of time where there's enjoyment, there's fun, there's breaks, there's a day, there's 2 days, like we got to have fun. Not like we got to have fun. I sound like a hypocrite up here. We got to have fun though. Got to have fun. Create environments where it's funner environment at your office, on the weekends, take breaks. So some of you may have a tougher time than this than others, but it's real. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're going after it, this can be an easy one to overlook. I've lost like plenty of relationships that you can lose because of it. You can just watch your child grow up right past you. So many things that can happen, but you got to stop. And you got to also realize that you're the entrepreneur, but everybody in the house may not be. Now, of course, they sign up to support you, but you also have to have the mind to be able to create pockets of fun. I know it's been okay 6 months. I gotta go, but after 6 months, we're gonna take a week. We're gonna go here, or I know 3 months. Give me 3 months, and then after 3 months, we're gonna you gotta create pockets of fun. Last one.
Curious, open-minded, always learning.
Curious, open-minded, always learning. That's the opposite of survival mode. Always got to be curious. Always got to be curious. Leading with questions. So tell me how you do this. If you're always talking about what you are, who you are, what you did, what you got going on, then you are blocking yourself from growing. Because the better the more you know about the outside world, the better you grow. Learn a perspective. Learn a perspective. Open-minded means if you're a Democrat and you're a Republican, which y'all gonna fight, understand what makes being a Democrat important to that person. Understand what makes being a Republican important to that person, and you might learn something. Christians, everybody else is going to hell. Christians, Muslims, if you really tapped in and learned what makes a person want to be another religion, is so much beauty in that you can learn. Don't mean you got to change, but there's so much beauty in being open-minded. Why is tell me about Buddhism. I want to learn. Tell me about Hinduism. I want to learn. What's it about? Being curious and open-minded in entrepreneurship is how you skip steps to your growth. Next slide.
Real quick before you leave this point, I'm not gonna get into the depth of this one, but the curious, open-minded, always learning. When you get into advanced decision making, this is a gateway that if you don't really master this now, you can't go to the next level. There's a level of thinking. Your brain, you have no idea how much your brain changes reality. It does it so cold. It's so many tricks I can show you where you're like, damn, my brain just did that? Yes, your brain literally designs reality based upon really to protect you, to comfort a pattern, to avoid uncertainty, to give you a sense that you are somebody, give you value, stimulate your ego, a whole bunch of different things. And your brain has a tendency to use information, use decision-making and information as a tool to give yourself value. And so you can't beat it. This is what our brains do. And if you don't practice this aggressively, you're going to fall victim to your ego. This is literally an anti-ego thing, curiosity, open-minded, and always learning, because there's ways that I'm going to teach you later on this year of how to think that is so unnatural for all human beings. But once you, okay, I'll give you one simple example. History is written about all the things that was done. It's never written about the things that was not done. So when you think about something that's in front of you, you're looking at the things that were done and trying to copy that to move forward. You never evaluate all the data that was not done and did not work, did not go well, right? And so when you make a decision, you think because you have all these layers of all the things that did work, that you now are confident enough to sit at the table, and you never sat down and go, what about if it doesn't work? And what are the different possible options? What are the other hypotheses that sit on the table? And learning to create multiple hypotheses. The beginning of learning how to think in this advanced level of decision making, you have to start now with curious, open-minded, always learning. But if you're that egotistical person that's always trying to prove you right versus wrong, and I know what's up and I know how to do this, you suck. You suck, you fucked, whatever else you want to, pause. But you just sucked. I gotta pause myself on that one. But I can't begin to tell you that a lot of slavery thinking, a lot of small town thinking, a lot of oppressive thinking, a lot of poverty thinking is trapped in the space of not being open-minded. It is such a like if you ever go somewhere in the hood and everybody's trying to prove themselves by what they know, and somebody like, I know that somebody's like tries to be a superior, knowledgeable person, then some people start to even praise that person as being like, oh my God, you know so much. But when you get to advanced thinking, you'll realize that's actually damage. Everybody in that circle is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never gonna get past a certain point. So that last point, even though it seems like, oh yeah, I'm curious, no, you're not.
No.
Cut it out. No, you're not. It's an art. It's a hell of an art.
That's real. That's real.
Mhm.
Curiosity is it's a light word, like it's a word that can be easily brushed past, like, oh, curiosity. But it's a huge it's huge, and it's an art that you have to learn. Questions. We'll start with, go ahead, Kaja.
I have two questions with regard to this. The first one is the relationship between delegation and collaboration. Um, I'm learning that it's not collaborative when you get an assigned piece of a task and you take it and run with it, and then you come back at the point of completion, right? Here's my, even if your piece is right, right? But it's an evolving conversation that's happening along the way. Does that get in the way of delegation? Because if, in my mind, if you delegate, you give it to me and then it's mine to do. But I'm understanding that that might not register necessarily as being collaborative because you've taken your piece and now you're working in a silo, even though you're going to return your piece done and done correctly. This is my first question on how you experience that. And then the other question is
Well,
about.
let me answer that, because my memory, boy.
Okay.
I don't smoke weed no more, but my brain be acting like I do. Delegation. Basically, in that particular scenario, you got delegated to, right? My leadership, there's different leadership styles, right? For me is, I'm not going to micromanage you. So if you want to take it, go off, and then come back and fit the piece in, and it's a good piece, we good. If you need collaboration, meaning you want input and go back and forth along the way, and you need that style for you to be at your best, that's cool too. I learned that way too. And there's different ways. So I think that's what makes that delegation such an art form, is because you have to know who you're delegating to and what style they need in order to get the best piece back in the system. So, like, if you remove any of the right and wrong aspects of it and just look at it as, here's an empty puzzle piece that I need, and I'm delegating you to bring me back the piece. Go make it however you make it. Or you like, well, can you work with me on how to make it? Sure. But the goal is to get the piece back, and it's the right fit. It fits right.
I have a slightly different answer. The word, say if I say maybe, probably, probable, could be, somewhat, that's language of probability, right? But it's vague. So let's say me and you're debating on something. We're talking about something. And you like what you did earlier. And you say, well, I think this is what's happening. But you kind of like probably, could it be, right? And let's say, but you don't give me, and I say, well, I think this. And we're arguing. But if I say to you, what's your percentage on that probability? Or that word probably, could have, might. You might say, only 10%. Oh, there's nothing to argue about, right? And I might only be 10% on mine. So we really shouldn't be arguing at all, right? But now we're both 80%. Now we should both be at the table going, hey, let's stay at the table. Okay. When you're in a workplace and you're just moving as a human being, we intentionally use vague language. So I might say, hey, I need this, I think this over here. Give me something close to this, right? There's a lot of vagueness in there. A lot of just vagueness. And when you're communicating with other people, vagueness now is up to your interpretation. So what you have to communicate for is not because you or I don't lack expertise, is because we're both interpreting with different perspectives, and we're also dealing with vague language that is unconsciously being integrated into our conversation, that we're filling in the blanks. So in order for us to reduce our variation. Because remember I said, if you got 5 people to carry out 10 tasks, what could destroy the ability to carry out all 10 tasks is they start to vary too much. And then when you get to 10, you underperformed, right? So the way you smooth out that performance is, it's almost like when you watch basketball game. Yeah, go out there and play. Every once in a while, coach has to call you back in and say, okay, let me clear this communication up. Something's not working here. Let's just make some adjustments. Let's process this differently. So management is an engagement. There's different levels. I thought he's going about different management styles of an engagement. It's, you may even have to put somebody who's in charge of the everyday layer of work, as because you want to get to the point where there's layers to like delegation. So your first level, if you're just a manager, just you, and you hire 3 employees, then you don't have to be the manager. But then let's say you eventually hire a manager, and now you work with that person, and you can step back even further. So it depends on how you design your delegation. You could change your time engagement to it. But when you first start delegating, or first entry level or something, right? Even when you go, the reason you say, oh, when it go away and something breaks down, because when you go away, I might say, I want this to be really nice. Well, that's vague. And you're nice and my nice, anybody in IT media tell you, is totally different. so the reason you have to have some kind of communication, for example, we designed a new office space, right, that we're about to open up. And they brought a table to me. And no, they brought a table. They was about to buy this table, and they showed me the price of it. It said trash. I'm not making an investment. It's ridiculous. Cut it out. And they like, no, it's on sale. I was, oh, okay then. But like, because I'm thinking I'm not gonna stay here that long to buy a table that expensive, because what if I move on to the next office? That's just gonna be thrown away, or trying to figure out how to sell it for $400. And I just spent $2,000 for it. Don't make that sense when the base rate of these tables are like $1,000, right? What I'm saying is that's complexity that is hard to transfer in every conversation because everybody's moving. And so there has to be something where, hey, once you make this decision, when you get to this stage, let me see where you at, right? I don't want to see every day. I want to see every I don't want to be over your shoulder. I don't want to be in all the processes. But I do want to see certain points so to make sure that we're in alignment for what we're trying to achieve. And also as a manager, I'm also looking for you to bring a level of creativity to reinvent my own creativity of what I wanted to achieve. I don't want it to be exactly my input output, right? So humans are naturally vague at certain touch points, and there's certain language that we use that even adds to the confusion. And so to assume to participate in abdication, you leave all that room open, and then you find yourself, they know better than this. They're professionals. There's no such thing as that's some made up shit.
Dope. Second question.
The second question I had, just what's been your experience between the last two? Can have fun and curious. My level of understanding of the importance of curiosity is growing, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also the ability to maybe just have a natural sense of wonder. Like, I don't need to know the answer or the underpinnings or the sausage making to everything. But as I start to spend time around more entrepreneurs, sometimes I'm like, oh God, can you knock it off with the questions? Because I just feel like, does everything have to have, do you have to have the details behind everything, or can you let things go? Where's the balance between the fun and the curiosity? Because sometimes they can feel like they cancel each other out.
Well, have you ever been around engineers, like software engineers or computer engineers, and they all were just engineers in a room? I have. And it's the nerdiest shit you ever want to be around, because you know why? They immerse themselves in their craft. Immersed. So everything is about, well, technical ability of this, and what's the breakdown of this, and the breakdown of this, and how does this work? When you break it down, what's the Pythagorean theorem on this? And that's all day if you put them all in a room. You put 5, 10 professional basketball players in the room, what are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about plays and moves and this and that in a language that we, even though we think we know hoop, don't even understand, because they immerse themselves in it. So if you're an entrepreneur and you immerse yourself, meaning you lose yourself to this game, and you know curiosity is one of the tools you need to grow, then that's how it's going to be. If I'm in a room full of entrepreneurs, like ones that are really killing it, everybody's asking questions, nobody's making statements. because everyone's finding, because if I understand the sausage making of what you do, I can correlate it to something else. And when I'm in a situation 3 months from now and I see the causation and I see the breakdown and I see similarities of what that conversation I had with you, I got to answer in my pocket. What the fuck, where'd you come up with that answer? I was at this party with Kaja and she makes sausages and she told me how sausages are made. So I got the little piece right here. Boom. Because that's what entrepreneurship is about. You have to have a bag full of tools. You have to have a bag full of keys for every lock that you walk up on. So yeah, if you want to have fun, don't go in them rooms then. Don't go in them rooms. Go somewhere where it's fun for you, whatever your fun is. My fun might be fucking a strip club. I don't know. We ain't talking about entrepreneurship at the strip club. I'm just throwing my ones. Right? But back to this entrepreneurship shit, I'm on it. I need to know. My livelihood depends on it. So guess what? Ask away. And I'm going to ask you some. And you're going to ask me some. And it's going to get even deeper than that. In entrepreneurship rooms, it's going to be, well, how much money did you make last year? How much money did you make this month? You know, a black culture, talk money? Okay, how much money? But what was your profit margin? How much did you save? What did you invest that save in? What's your runway look like? What's your redundancy look like? And now it's like, it's a language you don't even know. What the fuck, your redundancy rate? What's your customer retention rate? Why is it so low? It's conversations and shit that's happening that's like, oh shit. Because we want this shit so bad and we want to get better so bad that we lost ourselves in it. We immersed ourselves. We're obsessed with this shit. So I would never mix the two. If when Courtney wants to have fun, I'm having fun. Y'all ain't gonna see me. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want no cameras, nobody around me that'd be like, But when I'm back at it, I'm back at it. Question over here.
Can I ask 2 questions too?
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, bet. I want to go back between the move between micro, macro, and meta. I understood exactly what you mean by micro and macro to the point, but you didn't mention what meta was, and I wanted to ask what was meta in this instance.
So meta is globally. It's even bigger. So here's an example. Micro is I'm in the day-to-day thing of making this widget, right? Macro is, what does my operations look like? My widget operations look like? How can I improve my operation? Meta is, where is the market going in what I'm doing? Where my factories are in these countries? What's going on in these countries? Are the countries safe? Is there any wars going on? Like what can I foresee in the next year? Is there any military actions going on? So I know how to plan. What's the market? Where's the market going? Where are the trends going? How can I plan and strategize according to that? So you're always dancing between. What's going on? I have factories in Pakistan. What's going on in Pakistan? Oh, they funking in Pakistan. They funking with each other in Pakistan.
So
Shit.
funny.
How much?
So funny.
What percentage of our stuff we got in Pakistan? This much good.
You will never enter business class here. Oh, they funking over there. They funking.
Hey, I love the. Hey, this is why this is a black class. I love this
No
shit.
MBA
I love him for
professor.
that.
I love
though.
it.
I love that for him. He ain't
real.
funky.
I'm watching that. Your employees don't know you're doing that. Then you come in and make a decision, and they'll where that come from? It's because you're dancing between the three. Good question. Last.
Yeah, one more.
Oh, yeah, two. Go ahead.
So I also want to go back to redundancy and runway. So from my understanding, what you said, you basically said that redundancy is something that I'm continuously doing, and then I can go like, well, I don't have to worry about anything happening because I know that this thing is gonna work. And I believe that you said that runway was basically go to another place because you don't want to have all your assets centralized here. Because if something bad happens, you have something else to pivot to. I just want you to kind of reiterate that for me.
Okay.
If that's okay.
So redundancy, you're an engineer, right? So if you are designing something that potentially has, if somebody puts their hand on a part of the machine that's hot, they get burned, right? You could put a sign that says hot, don't touch. But what's going to happen? Some people stupid asses are going to touch it, right? So redundancy says, I know some stupid asses are going to touch it, so I'm going to put a bar here that for the stupid asses who do touch it, they won't get burned. And then I'm going to put some more redundancy so that even if somebody breaks the bar, the machine shuts down. See what I'm saying? So now no one ever can get to the place where they get burnt. That's redundancy, even though they shouldn't. Redundancy does, makes you soft in some areas because nobody can ever get their hand slapped or burned because we create so much redundancy in America. Other countries, there's no redundancy like that. You step on an elevator and you got your leg hanging out, that thing's getting cut off because they're like, what stupid person would leave their leg out in the elevator? But so that's what redundancy, we want to have that redundancy. Runway means whatever your monthly bills are. Say your monthly bills are $5,000 a month. How many $5,000s a month do you got in your bank account if business shut down today? If everything cut off today, how many $5,000s do you have? 1 month's worth of $5,000, 2, 3, 5, 6 a year. That's runway. That can tell you how healthy your business is in terms of long game. Last one, and we out.
My question was on redundancy and runway too, but in a clarity of frameway, I guess. So let's say that you're the business owner and you're transitioning out of technician and you're working on creating redundancy. So like you're hiring and you're abdicating, not delegating. Like you're like, all right.
I mean, delegating, not abdicating.
I'm sorry. You're delegating, not abdicating. Like you're like, this is the task. I'm gonna train them through this. I'm gonna make sure they got this, and et cetera. Doing all the things. But in that process of trying to build redundancy, there's like a period where because you were the technician for so long, you're still making bulk of the money. Like majority of the money is still coming through you as you're building that redundancy process. What does that transition look like?
Well, before that time, the knowledge that you are
Compromised.
is what's going to help you build that redundancy continuously. The knowledge that you're compromised. So it's like, I wish it was that easy. We're like, oh shit, redundancy, runway. Let's press those 2 buttons and now our bank account's full. You know you're compromised. So that's what helps you to say, all right, whatever comes in, I'm saving this much, I'm putting this much here, I'm putting this much here. And until you get to that place where you're like, oh shit, now I got 1 month. If I've never made $1, I can survive a month. Cool. And let's keep going. And that 1 month turns into 2 months, into 3 months, and next thing you know, you got 8 months of runway. But before that time, you're compromised.
So redundancy is to build runway, or it stands alone?
That's different. So runway is building months out. Redundancy means if you're relying on one lever in your business anywhere, and you're relying, and that one lever is holding you up,
including self.
Yes, self starts with self. That one lever is what's holding you up. You're
Compromised.
like a motherfucker. You're compromised.
I love this.
Well, and even if you know you're
So the thing is, you're compromised. Don't talk. Like, you have to make plans and execute on creating redundancy for yourself to say, all right, what can I do? like at 10, can I create 10% redundant, 20%, 30%? Like you're always looking for ways to add redundancy from a big perspective or small or incremental perspective, but you always like once you realize you're compromised, that's the push.
Can
That's the
I
goal.
add one small thing too? You remember? Okay. So who remembers time, attention, money? Okay. So time, attention, money is this principle that most black people in the hood value money first, time second, attention third. When it should be you value time first, attention second, money third. Let me show you how this is a direct impact on the small things of why some people will not build redundancy or they won't build runway. So remember you used to run to Costco and I said, why are you doing that? I mean, you do a lot of things like why are you wasting your time with those things, right? There's a reason you hire people to do other things because you could spend 30 minutes cutting out coupons to only save $7, right? Or you could spend 3 hours doing something to save $20. You can drive to the store that has all the sales and spend $10 in gas, 3 hours in time to save, when you get through with it, $30. So if you were to reverse that and put time as your most valuable asset, you realize, oh, my time is more valuable than the coupons, Costco, the distance store, the da-da-da. You say, well, Nana, what are you saying? You get people inside your company, you won't hire that talent and spend that extra money. You'll cut that cost. I do it. I got, because I keep all this money for myself. As opposed to how do I get some of this time back for myself? Give up some of this money early and figure out ways to get that money back. If not, increase the amount of money I make by bringing this person in. But what happened is we keep trading money for time in these smaller increments. And after a while, now everything goes to us. So now every hour is billed and we can see it as opposed to we now, for example, instead of I cut my grass because, and I do this and I do that. Man, if you don't hire people for all that shit and realize time is the most valuable asset in this game, as long as we keep trying to, which that goes back to survival mode, as long as we keep valuing, because survival mode makes you value money over time. You can say all this shit you want, but at the end of the day, you chasing money. And then even when you say, all right, let me cut some time, and you might say, well, my bills are high. If you start cutting shit back and you value time, and you realize that when you spend money, you're not actually spending money on employees, you're investing in an employee to get a higher return. And anytime you make that first investment, you feel like you're losing. When you feel like you're losing, I don't care what you buy an investment, you feel like you're losing. And when that return comes back, your brain goes, oh shit, this feels kind of good. But if you're in survival mode, you never know what that shit feels like because all you can think about is that, damn, I'll take a loss here. This is gonna cost me this. I can't afford this. I can do it myself. I can save some time by doing it myself. No. Pay somebody else to do this shit. It's gonna hurt at first, but when that time starts building up and your time starts getting richer, and here's the thing, when your time gets richer, now you can learn, you can sit back and go, how can I make my time more valuable? And that's when the magic happens.
Hey, real quick.
We gotta talk about that after. I have questions.
Jordan, better not don't say nothing. So my girl took me to the Janet Jackson concert. I had a horrible time.
Oh,
But
no.
to look at her, see she had such a great time, I would never tell her to her face. Horrible fucking time. So she bought the tickets. She did the shit. She said, you just go. You just come with me. Like, cool, good. We drive there. I have to drive an hour to get there, to get in the line of cars, to take another hour to get to the parking lot. I'm irritated as fuck. So I'm looking, where's the VIP shit? Where's the VIP? Where's the VIP line at? I'll pay. So she's like, no, it'll be fine. Just go to the parking lot. We have to park in some field. It's over there at the, Concord Pavilion or somewhere over there. Mm-hmm. Not Concord Pavilion. It's over about Middlefield. Hella far from the thing. Shoreline. So I'm irritated. I gotta walk back to this motherfucker. All right. So we walk back to the thing, hella long. By the time we get there, the first act is over. So we're like, all right, do you want to get some food first? And she's so excited to see Janet. So I'm holding it in. Let's get you some food. So we stand in line and get the food. I'm standing there, crazy line. So I'm like, where's the VIP line? Where's it at? Where's it at? She's like, you hella bougie. I'm like, no. This, standing around in all these lines, I hate this shit. So
I love it though. That's real.
So we standing in line, and I'm like, oh my God. So we there 10, 15 minutes. Next you know, you hear Janet starting to come to the stage. I'm like, we better go see her after all this line standing. So she's like, oh, well, we'll just get something to eat later. We go to where her seats are. It's on the grass. And we're like this with a sea of people. I'm touching people I don't know. So I'm like, hell no. Where's the VIP? Can I call somebody? I'll pay. So I'm looking down at her and she's just like loving the shit. We're so far away, we gotta look at a fucking monitor. Janet is this big. So I'm like, the experience is whack because I don't even get to see you. Yeah. So I'm thinking, let me buy the tickets next time because you tried to save money. I had a horrible experience. Now we got to leave early to beat this crowd before we go to the parking lot, and we parked so far back that by the time we left early, it didn't matter because by the time we got to our car, it had ended and all the cars in the front were in line. So we stuck in line again. So I would have paid $300 to get to the front. I would have paid $400 to make it a better experience because of time. So on that note, I'm out. Yeah.
While y'all transitioning, can I ask a question, Anna?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Jesus Christ. So when you're damn, I should have wrote it down. I don't know if that was you.
Go ahead.
When one of the things that I'm noticing that about time is that it can be very scary when you're coming out of survivor mode and you don't have a lot of time, and then you create time and you don't know what the fuck to do with it, which is where I'm at, which is why I keep asking questions around like, what do things look like? Because I've stepped back and I've realized that I can't be the main technician in my business. So I'm rewiring and changing things around, hiring people, I'm training them, I'm doing all of the things. But now I'm like, I got 2 days a week where I used to work 10 hours every day. And now I have one day where I only work 4 hours and then another day where I only work 6 hours. So I have 10 hours back in my week. After 2 hours, I am terrified for the next 4 because I don't know what to do with that because I'm so used to being a technician. And so then it's not even about saving money or hiring somebody to do something. It's that I don't know what to do with the time because my time's always been so rigid.
So what you just did was hindsight bias. And I get that another day. Hindsight bias is you don't remember what you was thinking when you created something. You don't remember. Am I too loud now? It seems like I'm hella loud. You don't remember you don't remember why, what you were doing, what strategy you was thinking about when you created something. And so now, days after and weeks and months later, your brain unconscious to you. This is unconscious to you. It reassesses things. And it gives a new story and a new meaning, a new purpose. But you forget. So most of us, hindsight bias is one of the meanest biases in the world because even if you know it, you can't stop it. So you need outside people to help you with your hindsight bias. So you up to 1 month ago or 2 months created a system that was going through you. So within the last 2 months, maybe you started to redesign a system where you have less hours. Okay. You still going to be impacted by that system for a little while. It just doesn't go away because you just say, okay, I designed it differently. Okay. Because in the end, you changed it, but you are who you are. Two, you're going to need a minute to kind of sit in this space, and this is going to sound superficial, but sit in kind of a space of boredom for your brain to go, I got to figure this shit out. I got to do something different. It shouldn't be a space of fear. What makes it scary to you is your survivor mode. But you got to get there to realize, because what happens is you've been working your business, you haven't been running your business. And when you start running your business, when you work in your business, the vivid things matter the most. When you're running your business, the abstract things matter the most. They're both valuable, but you start to focus more on abstract shit that is invisible, which I'm about to get into. And so your brain hasn't even, you don't even see that spectrum of abstract shit. You've been mastering, and your pride and your values been built around what you do and how well you put your hands on and how you shape stuff. You haven't got a chance to see the power of abstract and how that shit can manifest stuff that sometimes there's a whole bunch of invisible forces coming together to make things happen that you visually won't see, right? And I'm going to get into that in 1 second. I'm going to explain that in deeper depth. So you're transitioning, and you almost need a break to properly transition. You can't rush from working hard to this side. It don't work that way. You're going to have to learn a new way to walk, a new way to talk. All those old values, you're going to have to dump them. They're gonna become trash, and it's not gonna happen overnight. But it's like, have you ever went hiking and you look back and you say, God damn, I climbed that far? When you finally like really engage this and you spend some time in this abstract world, you're gonna look back and go, God damn, I used to really think like that, right? So you're transitioning, but it still doesn't it's a lot of businesses faith acts of faith, and you made the first move, which is I got to start to gain my time back. That's an act of faith. But what you're trying to do is see the whole process unfold, not realizing you still got to walk a path for it to unfold. Anything on that? Okay. All right, y'all. Do me a favor. Go to the last slide for me. The last slide. No, just give me. Go to the Obama slide. The Obama slide. Go to the Obama slide. Wow, it's not. My order is different. Obama, might be the last one on yours. Keep going. There you go, right there. Obama slide. Make sure you're on Obama slide online. Cool? Okay, cool. All right, here's a question. So here's the thing. This is an exercise we're going to do today. I need you guys to write down an answer. Was Obama a great black president for black folks? Simple question, right? And I want you to write after that. It could be short, it could be simple. Don't write a whole bunch of words because I'm gonna call on some of you guys to give me an answer. And this is online at home as well. And you have to be honest for this exercise to work. So don't be trying to, well, this is what I was gonna say, right? No, was he a good president or was he not? Just one of the two. Or, however you want to answer it. But write down your reasons for your answer. And we're gonna take 2 minutes for you to write down to you, just to you. I don't need you to try to speak for your school or speak for your jobs or speak for your family or speak for your Democratic Republican Party. To you, was he a good president for black folks? And if you say yes, I need you to tell me why. If you say no, I need you to tell me why. You don't get to be lazy, be like, nah, he ain't shit. Why? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So in the end, let's take 2 minutes real quick while we make a couple of adjustments. And was Obama a great president for black folks? I'm going to time y'all because some of y'all got bad timing. So at home, write this down, put it in your cell phone. Use your cell phones to take notes. For some of y'all who are kind of ancient, get the rocks out, go on the wall, scratch it out. Whatever it takes for you to get it out. Don't try to be positive. Don't try to be pro-black. Your honest opinion. Was Obama a great black president for black folks? Wakanda forever! Well, I'm going to take some notes on what y'all answers. I'm going to write some of this stuff down. Give y'all a second. I wonder how silence feels when you're online streaming. Is the most awkward space for people. They're like, okay, say something, brother. And I will say this though, while y'all writing this down, for those of you who finished, I think everybody has potentials for brilliance. I'm going to post a podcast where this one guy is going to say a lot of brilliant stuff in one podcast, and the next podcast is questionable. So I was trying to find a great causation versus correlation podcast, and I went ahead and took one of Umar Johnson's, and I actually agree with the whole video this time. This one, and the brothers was trying to blame black women for some of the problems with the black community, and it was a micro versus macro, because the cats kept saying, if she wouldn't date Pookie, we wouldn't have these problems. He's like, well, why does Pookie exist? And he's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, she said, because as black men, we didn't prevent Pookie from coming to existence. That's our responsibility. And the cats kept saying, but no. I take care of my family. She could date people like me. He's like, there's not a lot of people like you. So at the end of the day, if we're not generating an equal balance for all the intelligent women, who do you want them to date, right? And the dudes could not see a difference between, he kept trying to explain that your manhood is not about just taking care of your family. That's an individualism argument. Your manhood is defined by how you show up to your community. That's a man's argument. But the young men could not see that for the life. They were highly intelligent men, but they could not see the separation between their individual choices and the macro, the bigger cultural choices. And it was just, and it's very popular. You see that I deal with that a lot when I deal with a lot of folks coming up. And so I was talking to my brother, one of my brothers, when I say one of my play brothers about this. And I said, it ain't really about, at the end of the day, you can't even blame the young generation, right? Because that's going back to what he's saying. And he said the same thing in this discussion. He's like, we're not in the schools. Black men, we're not in the schools. If you go to any school in Oakland right now and go see how many black men you're going to see there that are actually real men. I ain't talking about male figures. I ain't talking about social justice males, because some of them dudes are so soft, I can't take it. But how many men are actually in those spaces showing up to our kids? And so you don't get to tell them, why don't you get this? How come you don't understand this? I don't understand what this generation is going to this generation. How are they going to know that? Who's teaching them that? Every human being is a victim of myopia, which is, I only pay attention to shit that was happening since the day I was born, the day I die. That's very common for most human beings if they're not educated. And so if we got white women flying into our black schools to teach our kids, and we wonder why this shit's fucked up. And so, and then like he said, he told these brothers, he said, if you want black women to respect you, take Pookie off the streets. He said, one of the key things he said, which I totally agree, which I would add to that, but he said, go create jobs. Go save our kids. If you save them boys, she's going to gain respect for you. And you think about this. If you're in danger and you're a single woman, you usually have to call a white man before you call a black man, which is called the police, to save you. And black men don't even see that that's a problem. I had a brother today who was training today, and I was like, yo, man, we talking about what makes a man a man. I was like, yo, how much you pay for you with your baby mama? He said, nah. I said, what's going on with the child support? He said, oh, I'm on top of it. I said, how much is it? And he says, around 200. I said, bruh, fine, go try to get that woman at least $1,000 a month. At least $1,000 a month. I said, one, it's going to stimulate your manhood like you've never seen before. I said, number two, that woman is your permanent family. You know why she's your family? Because she takes care of your fucking kid. You could hate her every day of your life when you wake up. You can smell her perfume and almost faint. But she is, I say the same way you don't want to sleep with your auntie, right? Then you don't need to have someone sleep with her to take care of her. At the end of the day, she takes care of your child. Because she takes care of your child, she's one of your responsibilities. I say, you know why it's important? Because a man is tied to our responsibilities. And before you talk about saving the world, if you can't take care of your kids, I can't even respect you as a man. So if you want your man to get that stimulation, make sure baby mama's good enough to take care of the kids. So if baby mama don't have food in the refrigerator, brother, you better make sure she has food in the refrigerator. Right? If baby mama can't drive a car to school, you go get a car and say, hey, make sure my child goes back to school. If your child's in a ghetto ass school hey, bro, up that monthly money and get that child in a decent school. That's man shit, right? Now, if you're around soft men and you say, I'd pay $200, you go, yeah, I pay $200. You know, man, how'd you come up? That's what soft men would say to you. A strong man be like, $200 a month. Motherfucker, that's not babysitting money for more than one day. Not more than one day. Our nanny's like 4 G's a month. ZZ's in, my daughter's going to preschool, no, kindergarten next year, $3,500 a month for kindergarten. Motherfucking build a block. Right? And mind you, black males there, black folks there, all kind of stuff. But the reality is that if your kid just goes to school, we forget, brothers, the cost of children is ridiculous. So you want this woman to take care of your child 20 days a month for free? And then you want to run around here and say your masculinity is tied to bravado? You got the game fucked up. Anyway, all right, let's go into this. Was Obama a great black president for black folks? How many people say yes? Raise your hand. How many people say no? Raise your hand. 1, 2. Okay, what the hell did y'all say? Huh? It depends. Okay, let me hear what your argument was. Oh, wait, give her a microphone 1 second. We don't forget about the microphone. We got sorry folks at home. We got a little comfortable. Go ahead.
If you're in the segment of black people who were served and motivated by representation, then yes, it was great for you. If you're in the segment of black people who was not served and not motivated by the things that are systemically affecting us, then he wasn't. So it depends on what you were in it for.
All right, anybody got a different answer on the I don't know what the hell's going on? Okay, go ahead. It's an answer. It's another answer. Go ahead.
I said I have a twofold answer. I don't have enough information on tracking his policies and impacts that it had upon black people. I do, however, believe that he was good in a sense because he did give us hope.
Okay, that's cool. Jordan, did you have an answer? You just. I'm Jordan. Okay. I am Groot. Okay, so did you have an answer for it at all? Oh, you didn't pay attention to what he was doing? Okay, go ahead. We got some no. I want to give the nah. He wasn't some space too. Go ahead, because these are all good answers.
I just said no because, well, his main focus wasn't for black people. You know what I'm saying? His focus was, mostly for like certain cultures or, as they say, America and their own benefit. But the thing I didn't like is that he did raise in government assistance, and government assistance helps a lot of people, especially black people, rely on the government instead of themselves. So that's why I said no.
Okay. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I said no just because, like, when you said to me, I thought about to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no because I didn't see anything happen systematically around me in my area, that benefited me of him being the president. Besides my community, happy to see a person of color in office.
Okay. Tennille, you had an answer in the office. Did you finish it?
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just said no because I felt like he was good, temporarily good for the morale of black people, because he looked like us and was in the White House, and it was the first time that ever happened. But as far as impact and change, I feel like based on what I do know, he just furthered systems that were already in place. And in my opinion, further handicapped, especially African Americans, because we were so busy focused on the fact that he was black that we were not focused on policy. So it was just a whole lot of, in my opinion, further pushing of systems, like the brother said here, of increasing the monies and the reliance on a system that was actually, in my opinion, created to make us dependent so that we're not implementing change within our own communities. We're relying on this system.
Okay. Should we share anything online or on the email chat group?
One person online said both, that he was good and bad, but
Did it say why?
didn't say why.
Why
So
do that,
maybe
huh?
if you
Just-
want to elaborate on that, I'll add that. And
Any
then
emails?
on email, no.
Okay, I'll give him a second to email. Do you have a response to that?
So I will, like Shakina, I don't have I don't know the data. But what does come up for me is I was asking myself the question before we saw Obama, what were the examples of what a black man does? Right? What were we seeing? And what I do think is that he added diversity to like what leadership as a black man can look like. Right? So you saw a black man who was with his woman, taking care of his children, concerned about what's happening in communities. And that was cool. That was a visual that was cool. It wasn't just what you saw in videos. So it wasn't just athletes and it wasn't just rappers. And I think um, prior to that, and I can't think of it, if maybe somebody here can, I can't think of where that persona of actually being civically responsible was cool to young boys in our community. So I think he gave people something else to see outside of entertainment, and we desperately needed a different persona of somebody who's a shit or something to aspire to. I think we desperately needed that. So that is one of the things I do think he added. And I also think that for any black man who was also aligned with that, he gave you something to belong to, because you think of the Steph Currys and you think of these other guys who they with their wife, they care about their kids, they care about their family, they care about their community. Now it's not just them doing that. Now they can go be a part of that, and more people wanted to associate with that. And so I think that that's the good that he did do.
Okay. Anybody else before? Did we catch you the wrong time? Did you have an answer for us? So I pass her microphone, give her a second to finish chewing. Mm-hmm, got her.
I
Huh?
put depends.
Okay.
Well, and it was sort of
Give me your why. Why depends.
a lot of the sense of pride of seeing someone who looks like us, kids who can see I can aspire to more because I see myself in someone who is the head of a great nation.
Mm-hmm.
On the opposite side, policies that didn't really necessarily help me.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a mix of what people
Okay.
are saying.
Josh, did you? Because I know Josh, you always have something to say.
Can I add one other thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
The healthcare situation. In our community, so many of our elders are not well, and the cost of healthcare is really freaking high. Now, somebody had to pay for that. Like I'm not saying that was perfect, but what I am saying is that I do know several Black people whose parents and grandparents all of a sudden had access to care that was prohibitive before. As messy and as like contentious as that was.
Okay. Shakina?
Kind of just a question to pose that's leaning into like not having enough facts, but like when I know you said to answer it from a personal space, but then my brain was like, if I answer this personally and I don't have enough facts and data, then it doesn't really matter because it's going to be skewed. So then the curious part of my brain goes, even if I don't personally feel like I got impacted or I benefited from this, what are all the invisible things that I did get, like roads fixed, increases in teachers, like decrease in strikes that didn't happen that could have happened, like all the little things. So my brain goes to that, which is why I can't give a definitive answer of yes or no, because there's still things that are playing out even post office, all these years of like things he did or didn't implement or the impacts that they're having. And so my brain just goes into the curious space of like, what are all of all of the unknown unknowns that I could be making a emotional decision or statement that's not grounded.
And Jordan still sits there, no answer, huh? I am Jordan.
I just don't pay attention to politics to answer the question.
Okay.
Okay.
Online?
No, because he didn't do enough for Black folks. Yes, because the healthy representation was good for Black folks.
Okay. Anybody else on email or whatever? Just want to double check before Scott.
That was email. Oh, he broke barriers that had never been broken, and that was a positive example to Black people.
Okay. Scott, you can just pass your over. There you go. There you go. Boy, look at
Oh my God.
yeah.
I think it's a mixed bag. I think, like, from a representation point of view, it was a really great thing. And I think he motivated a lot of Black and brown leadership to step into the voting arena and, like, run for office and try to make civic change. So I think that was good. There was a decline in Black incarceration during the Obama era. The statistics show that it did go down. The housing crisis in 2008, though, decimated Black home ownership. So that was a huge thing. You can't credit that towards him, but maybe his administration could have did something to help those folks with their home situation. So I think it's a really mixed bag, but maybe I'm gonna say 70% better than worse.
Are we good? No more online. We're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You raise your hand? Oh, okay. Almost everybody gave me a correlation. Everybody was wrong. Horribly wrong. So go back to causation. Go to the slide before. Causation versus correlation. Let me help you guys understand. I'm going to tell you how politics work as a president. Legislation over figure. I talked to a person recently that signed thousands of laws. When you come into office, there's so many laws in place and legislation in place that you don't get to move.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you think somebody is good or bad, you don't know because legislation is driving the output. Mm-hmm. America is a corporation. No figurehead gets to change that shit. Whether you Trump or whether you're Obama, whether you Bush or whether you Clinton, you don't get to override that. The story of a president having all this power is no different than, it's window dressing. It's not the real story. If you pay attention to government, that there's so many laws. So systemic racism is not a particular Trump thing. It's already written into laws. There's certain laws that are written that are inactive because no one decided to activate them. If they decide to activate them, it can come back because it's still written in legislation. Texas decided to get rid of the paper license, and police officers and politicians said, I had no idea it was this hard to change legislation. Because the way the American society is set up is that a president doesn't get to change legislation without going through the different branches of power. And that diversity, and so that means that in 1900, I wrote a law that favored white supremacy, it favored racism, it favored all kind of stuff. Sorry, you can't change it yet. If you try to change it, it's going to eat up so much of your time. How much can you really change? So when you say, is Obama a good or bad president, it's a correlation. Is there a connection between when he was a president, this happened to happen? Yeah, but those laws are already signed into legislation. You can't do that. Like, for example, defund the police. You can't. They're written into legislation. You can say all that marching you want is trash. You guys kind of see why I hate social justice so much? It's a correlation-based movement. When you get into causation, you realize, okay, the homeless camp in West Oakland was the largest homeless camp in the United States? It was the largest homeless camp in the United States was in West Oakland. And you saw the black folks that was impacted by that? You saw all the poor white folks that was impacted by that? It was about none of that. Them people who was pushing that program was trying to run a homestead. You know what that is? We're going to squat onto the land till we own it. If they did the paperwork correctly before they kicked them out, them people would have claimed ownership of all that land in West Oakland. And they used black people and white people as a front for window dressing. So when you're screaming social justice, oh, this is racist, oh, this is not right, this is not fair, you don't realize you're participating in a correlation movement where somebody created this theme and you're responding to it. But at the end of the day, this was a power grab. Had to do with homeless people. So even when you say, this is how I feel about a president, Obama's a bad president, the situations you're talking about was already written into legislation, bro. Obama couldn't change this shit. A president doesn't get to come in, just like if you're in a big corporation, you hire a high-end manager, they got to work within the margins that you provide for them. They don't get to say, you know what, let's just get rid of all these departments, let's redesign this like JCPenney's. They'd be like, what the fuck you doing, fired? Like it doesn't work that way, right? But the theme you've been told on television, this is a causation issue. And so many of you guys are saying, oh, he's good, he's bad, he's this. You don't know, you can't know. It's impossible to know because you have to look at all the legislation that was sitting next to his side and go, oh, fuck, he couldn't have changed that. Oh, she had no access to that. Oh, shit, he can't even touch black people because of this. That's already designed into the system. So a lot of times while you're focusing on that Billy Bob Thornton said something hella racist, you ignore the legislation that's being written to law that's going to hit generations for numerous generations from this moving forward. You can't see systemic racism in its rawest form because you're paying attention to trash. The window dressing trash. Oh my God, my gender was just insulted and I had to bring this to hell, so we got to cancel them. Motherfucker, do you see the legislation that's going against them that's worse? And you'll never have that discussion. So even when you vote most politicians in, they know what game they're dancing with you because they talk correlations. Ron DeSantis just went to San Francisco and he did an interview in the streets of San Francisco. You know, him and Governor Newsom, them cats ready to fight. Like literally they ready to fight. I'm not exaggerating. Right. They like they were black dudes, it'd be a shootout in San Francisco, right? Dudes stood on stage and said, yeah, San Francisco's going down, it's deteriorating, and then he went to correlations because the crime is running through the streets and there's no response to crime and there's no tolerance for crime, and this is why San Francisco's falling apart. There's so many causations for San Francisco deterioration, and it may not even be deterioration, it may be turnover, right? But what happens is, if you watch the news and he stated a correlation, you think it's a causation. Now, why is this correlation causation thing so important? This is one of the reasons we can't solve most of our problems because we're trapped in the space of correlation thinking. And then when it comes time to solve the problem, we don't have access to the problem because we don't even see the problem because we're stuck on a correlation. So A and B is happening at the same time, but the real causation was C, legislation. So everything you guys are saying, well, you know, he did this is legislation. Don't fucking matter, legislation. And if you ain't playing the legislation game, all the other shit you just said, trash. America's a corporation. America's designed to run a certain kind of way. America has rules. Cats who get into position has to fulfill their role they've been hired for, not reinvent the fucking system. So when Trump was talking about this shit, America wasn't going, I'm like, America is not going to collapse. It has a structure that overrides any individual. Otherwise, we would have been collapsed. There's been some presidents in the history of America, you'd be like, God damn, he did what? Right? So the reality is that presidents don't have as much value as you guys think. Was it symbolic? Is he a figurehead? Yes. But does he get to change the corporation? No. So could Obama or any black president say, if Nana became president, guess what I can do for y'all? Not a motherfucking thing that the legislation won't let me do. And y'all know I ride with black people harder than anybody y'all ever met. But the reality is that when you have a big corporation, it's not designed, those who wrote the system before you got here, systemic racism has been written into the system. So for example, Homestead is a quiet law that lies on a book. And the person said if they would have did one piece of paperwork correctly, they would have got that land for free. And once they got the land, they tell black people, hey man, yeah, it's been nice. Thank y'all for helping us get this shit. You have no, right now, Macy just called us and they want this land. So we're about to sell it to them.
Who was supposed to benefit from that?
It was one small group, particular group that was actually going for the land. So once they got the land, it ain't about us. But yet we talk that shit like as if that exists. Go ahead. I'm trying to leave some of the details out so I can leave some of the people out that I had conversations with. I don't want to bring them into the conversation because they can get in trouble or some shit. Huh? I ain't no motherfucking snitch. Go ahead.
When you say that America is a corporation, the thing that came to my mind is that, so the thing that came to my mind is corporations are disrupted every day. So they're not, they're not protected from disruptions in the environment. And so the question that comes up for me is when we say that America, no one person can change a corporation like that because they have to behave within the guidelines of that corporation.
Once again, so you're using some correlations in what your question. All corporations are not equal.
Correct.
Right? And depending on how I design this infrastructure of the corporation, change and how I respond to change is totally different. So I don't have a group of senators, a group of Congress, a group of judges, public voting, and other branches. I don't have none of that shit, right? So what I'm saying is that if you don't have, when you have those type of, think about how many boards got that many members that vote at that rate.
I don't, but if I think about industries, I could make that argument, right? So I don't.
But size changes the conversation, right? Size changes the conversation, right?
It does, but I guess I would have to change I would have to do that if I wanted to use America as a corporation, right? I would probably have to compare it to like an industry and say, okay, the easiest one, right? Tech.
No, Procter & Gamble.
Huh?
Procter & Gamble, because tech is a relatively reinvention of corporation infrastructure, right?
True.
So go way back to look at a company that's been around for a long time. GE, General Motors, General Electric, who's been around for over 100 years, right? That company, which moves at a total different rhythm, total different rate, total different design. One thing about business is that you can never compare attributes because okay, here's a hood way of saying it. Understand the game you playing.
Right. So the question that I'm going at is, so I'm thinking, so if I said General Electric, I wouldn't just say them, I would say them and whoever else is in that industry, right? Because I'm trying to go for like, what is disruptible about the U.S.?
America was disrupted with Pearl Harbor. America was disrupted by COVID. America has always been disrupted, right? I'm saying that it's designed. It's got optionality built into the American corporation, right? It knows how to make adjustments because COVID was a hell of. I've never seen anything like that before, right? Global warming is also causing some shifts and there's a whole bunch of things that's happening like that, right? All over the United States, there's threats that are coming in that America's fighting off all the time that you have no idea about. So we're not talking about absolute disruption, but the way the system moves. Right, the matrix of the system is way beyond most of our understanding because most black people don't learn about government like that. We don't know that even in your city, there's hundreds of laws signed. I don't give a fuck. You can march all you want, scream Black Lives Matter or Ants Matter. I don't give a fuck what you want to scream. Ain't shit gonna change. It's like once that law is signed in, because here's the thing: we think about something. Our ego's talking again. I don't give a fuck what you think. No one can override the group. The group is most important. So if I'm looking at the whole group and majority of the group that I'm interested in serving is this way, and then this whole group over here going, we should go that way, I'm gonna pat you on the head. Yeah. It's not about your individual interests. I don't give a shit. So and that's how the larger you get into larger scale systems, the rules of the game changes. And so even when we talk about corporations, a lot of even ideas that we use when we discuss corporations are really just us articulating correlations, not causations. Very different. This is where I want to go to the next point. I want to say the next slide. Next one. Okay. It depends. Anybody know about the old story about how planes fly, how they started? Before planes started flying. So I want y'all to pay attention to this. The early people who tried to develop something that could fly, they were studying what? Birds, correct. Or fly, anything that flew, right? They were looking at the attributes of a bird. It flaps its wings. It flutters, whatever the fuck it does. Does other shit. Right? There's all that, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, maybe it turned like this. You know, okay, cool, fuck it. Even though my cousin's a pigeon, that's crazy, ridiculous. What is it? So that's the nickname I give him because he's, you know. Anyway, that's another conversation. Anyway, all the people who tried to fly was doing vivid observations. They were observing the attributes of a bird. Anybody knows how many people failed? Anybody got a number?
I don't know the number.
Just say hell of them. Just help your brain go with this. Hell of people failed. A lot of people died. Sitting there watching a bird fly and copying the attributes and assuming if I follow these same attributes, I should be able to fly. Then somebody saw an invisible system called the Bernoulli. It's a Bernoulli system, which is air moves faster on top of the wing and slower underneath the wing, which helps a plane take off. And then they also use Sir Isaac Newton concept of motion to understand how planes. So the things that human beings use to get a plane up in the air were invisible principles. They were invisible principles. They were absolutely invisible to observation. So all the most rational, logical people are sitting there going, nah, bird flap, maybe we're not flapping hard enough. Maybe our wings need to be bigger. Maybe we need to make our wings out of let's kill hella ostriches and get their wings, so we need bigger wings. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we should need to bring back the pterodactyl, because that motherfucker got some wings for your ass, right? This is the logic of observation. But here's the problem. Observation without context has no value. Attributes without context has no value. If I tell you this is what I did to run my business, without any context, I gave you nothing. If I can't answer two simple questions, when should I ever use this concept? And why should I ever use this concept? If you can't answer those two simple questions on any advice, this is why I hate self-help or the 7 steps of success, because they give you blind attributes without context. Many of you guys it's like, you know what you guys look like? People watching, the people who watch all the people who looked at birds and was using that example, and you guys are just trying to reinvent those ideas. This is what you look like when you go to a self-help course. Because all they do is give you attributes. They don't give you any context. The reason we can't teach you attributes in this class, we can't teach you like do this, is because depend on the context, depend on the game you playing, depend on when you activate this idea. All these variables are always moving. Competition, too many of you guys do not give the equation of competition is due attention. What you say, you say, well, I want to do this and I'm going to bring this beautiful idea to the world. Let's say, like, for example, Shakina Pinpoint, people go, oh, that gym really works. It's a matter of time before somebody goes, oh, well, I could do that too. They're going for her market share. That means the model that she used to get there, even if it was working yesterday, once competition hits the market, that model is no longer any good. So if she told somebody the day before she had realized competition was a game, this is what you need to do to run another version of Pinpoint, she just taught somebody failure. The goalpost is always moving. This is why when you ask an entrepreneur for advice, they go, well, it depends. It depends on a lot of different variables. Depends on a lot of different stuff. Here's another variable too. So you remember that thing about be curious? When somebody gives you advice, it's just an hypothesis. It's a variable, possible hypothesis. Never, ever fall in love with a single hypothesis. Always ask yourself this simple question. What if this didn't work and it worked another way? What would that other way be? And if that didn't work, what's another way it could work? The reason you want to have multiple hypotheses is because your brain has so many biases, which we get into later classes, that will trap you and make you fall in love with a single hypothesis. And often that hypothesis is driven by you anchored in some idea, or you either anchored or you are you dealing with availability bias? Meaning it's something you just recently saw and it's kind of give you motivated to say this is the best answer, but you don't see everything. Or you don't think about what happened 30 years ago. Or you don't think about what happened 10 years ago. You don't even think about what happened last year sometimes. So it's important if you're making decisions or you're out here trying to seek information, all this shit depends. It depends. There is no motherfucking 1, 2, 3 steps. It depends. Matter of fact, You can run a horrible business in a good business world and blow the fuck up. It depends. So this whole idea of you seeking out recipes and following these necessary steps, there is no such fucking thing. What y'all are is everybody, you the people watching a bird trying to invent a plane. You will never invent a plane because guess what? A lot of the variables, so your human brain is more attracted to vivid things over abstract things. Your brain likes to talk about vivid shit over abstract shit. Matter of fact, if I walked into the room talking about abstract, you'll be like, oh, it's too deep, it's giving me a headache. Yes, give me a headache. That's true because you are burning a lot of calories. But you almost, your governing beliefs, your subconscious devalues that. Has no value in that shit. It's too abstract. What I need to know about that. All I know is when I hit this hammer on that motherfucking nail goes in, tell me why, then tell me about that. Right? That's how some people really move. Like, straight up, right? The reality is that, but in business, what made a plane fly was not the observation of the obvious. It's the unseen, the unknown. Do you realize that if you go look back in history, there's been many times in history where people claim miracles, and it was moments when random invisible things collided. And these things happen. Oh, that was a miracle. No, that's later on science says, no, it's just science. Just science. But when you first experience it, there's so many invisible systems around you at all times, and some of them collide every purple moon. And when they collide, it feels like, no, that was my grandmother talking to me. That was spiritual. Can I get a man? No, it's not. There's so many invisible systems. The more you get into business, the more you realize you got to build a healthy relationship with invisible systems. And so one of the invisible systems is randomness. Things are always changing. Your brain feels like there's patterns. There isn't. There isn't. A lot of shit is random. But your brain, when it looks backwards, it sees patterns because your brain makes it up. When you watch historians speak to you, historians are nothing but storytellers who take different moments of time. They use their imagination to tell you what the person was thinking, what it meant, and they sew these events together and they put together this beautiful story to tell you. So then you think, you learn that style of storytelling, you look back at stuff and go, well, this is what they were thinking, this is what they was processing, this is how it came together. But if you pay attention, if some shit go down in this room right now, and somebody say, what was that person thinking when they did it? You'd be like, I don't know what the fuck they was thinking, that shit was crazy. But you can figure out what somebody was thinking 600 years ago? Okay, gotcha. Fuck no. So history often creates this distortion of how things work in this world, when really a lot of shit is random. And that's an invisible idea. But when you try to say that and then say, okay, now take the principles of randomness and integrate that to everything you know about business and watch how it disrupts everything you know about business. But if you don't have this idea, you're running around here with this false sense of assumptions and imagination, filling in the blanks for things you don't understand, and then you're on this path of make-believe called you. Y'all dig that shit? You want to smoke a joint to that? Go ahead, Kaji.
That's crazy. My mic ain't on. That's crazy, too. That's crazy.
Kaji, give Kaji a microphone. Oh, wait.
My mind is going
excuse me.
as we find the microphone.
Kaji needs a microphone. What the hell? Those of you at home, and y'all almost saw the other side of it.
Oh, man. Thank you. With what you just explained, how do you marry that with data? Because isn't data just like a snapshot of the factors that were in place at a time?
So, okay, no. Data is only, you remember the concept, it depends? Okay. Somebody giving you feedback is one source of data. Then there's data is another source. Quantitative, qualitative, those are all different sources of data, right? Newspaper articles, digital reports. You take all that information and you form a hypothesis. one source by itself has too many holes in it. I can use statistics to prove any fucking thing. I can use data to prove anything. So you need multiple sources of data. What happens is over leveraging data is actually a trend. That's not how you move when you make decisions. Data has to be part of the equation, but it's one of the variables. It's like if you looked at all these as sample sizes, you need multiple samples to make complex decisions. Now, the everyday person doesn't move like that, right? But the way you move casually like this is you know that when you learn something, I'm going to teach because I got to teach this in pieces because it's a little complex. I start complexing and simplify it. But you got to know that one person or one source is not enough to make a solid decision. You need to have some other sources.
Hey, can I jump in there?
Go ahead.
You know about the Somali pirates, right? You heard about them a lot. Somali pirates taking over ships and it cast a very negative light on the Somali pirates, right? Because we got that information from one source. But if you got more data and more context from a separate source, you learn that the Somali coastline is the biggest coastline in Africa, and it was full of wildlife that Somalia fished, and that was their ecosystem of generating revenue. Other countries was just coming in, starting to fish. And they did it so much that they emptied the coastline of Somalia. And not only did they do that, they started dumping toxic stuff in the waters of that coastline. So the fishermen and the military and the militia got together and said, all right, if they're gonna do that to us, then we're gonna get them back. So then with just that other piece of data, it changed the context of it. Now they're not so bad. So data from one source sucks.
Anything before I move to the next one, Sharisha?
I don't think I have the question yet.
Okay, so good.
Yeah.
All right, next slide. By the way, thank you, Danielle. Okay, so remember we talked about a man who. You never take advice from, never start off conversation. I know a man who. I know a woman who. This person once said, I heard, like you said earlier, this one company, I don't know what the fuck that means, right? And that's the way so one of the ways I stop myself from falling victim to that is that's my famous phrase is I don't know what that means. I just say it real fast. I don't try to process what you say. I just cut out like, you might say, I know a man who, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm almost like, I'm going to try to stop you if I can, but if you say it, I've already told my brain, shut this shit off. If I listen to you, I call it the Dr. Umar effect. You can listen to Dr. Umar and realize I am listening to trash and this shit sounds good. Because charisma is a powerful impact on the brain. So when I say I don't know what that means, however, remember I said, in order to be the next level of this business shit, you have to hold two opposite ideas as truth. When you're at the bottom, opposite ideas are fighting words. As you climb opposite ideas, you can hold two opposite ideas as truth. You got to get your customer to say, a man who. You got to get your customers to say, a man who. I know a man who bought that same shirt. You need to get one. So when you're making a decision, you don't say, when you run your company, you know the difference. But you push it to your customers to do that. Because your customers, through word of mouth, can blow any commercial away. So you're trying to drive a man who dialogue between your customers while still running your market. Even when you run your marketing campaign, you shaping the words they need to use to talk to their friends to say, I know a man who bought an Apple, you know how Apple law is, and you gave them that information. How people talk about your products, you control that. When you don't invest in marketing, you letting them control that. And you letting that one cat who hella funny, who talks shit, you can let one bad comedian destroy your product tomorrow because you never drove a marketing campaign. So branding is shaping how everybody is talking about your product. But your goal is to get your customers to say, hey, man, who? But when you thinking and running your company, you better not use that as a process. See the difference? So I'm telling you guys, don't say that shit again. But I'm telling you also, make sure your customers say that shit every day. See the difference? There's a lot of shit I'm going to show you guys, like, you don't do it. Get your customers to do it. It's going to sound crazy, but you can't take some of those. Truth doesn't go across the board. It depends. I'm gonna introduce you to a guy who he's going to use some correlations. I want you guys to figure out the correlations he's using. I disagree vividly. I mean, I'm clear as day disagree with like about 5 things he said. But to the people he's talking to, thank God he's doing it. You say, what? It depends. Life ain't all about, we don't all march to the same truth. Remember perspectives? Once you play the perspective game, depending on what perspective I'm dealing with, the truth can change. Depends. Right? Like, for example, y'all know none of them don't like prostitutes. That's not my thing. I don't like prostitutes. Not my thing. Just don't care for it. Never liked a prostitute day in my life. Never said to myself, you know what? I want to see what it's be around a prostitute. No, that's not my thing. Not against Atlanta, at the strip club, leave me alone. I'm the best time of my life. You can say you get real rational, but nah. She could be a possible prostitute. I say, you just shut the fuck up, let me enjoy myself. Right? I'm of course. You get where I'm going with this? Life is really contextual. Everything's not the same. Going back to that thing when Court said fun, if you don't understand a contextual game, you destroy your own fun. Because you will rationalize all your fun away because you overthink everything. You got to realize that it's contextual and perception. It's not all the same. And so a lot of principles you're going to learn in this class, yes, they're right for making a decision. But sometimes your customers, pop culture is pop culture. You can go around and say they shouldn't think like that all they want. But if that's a market that you're serving, how do you serve that market? And you cannot go to that market and say, I'm going to deliver an abstract idea about this abstract thinking and my product represents this complexity. They'd be like, whatever, it's too much. So understand the difference. Pass the microphone.
I just want to say you are killing it, and you have my mind on 10. But I just want to ask a question because I wrote this down earlier. You was talking to the vivid between abstraction. I consider myself an abstract person, so I wanted to know how can I take something abstract and feed it and make it vivid to the people I'm trying to give it to.
It is art. That's what when I teach this class, I'm always taking abstract ideas and trying to simplify it. I use sports samples. I use life examples. Quiet as kept, there's more brilliance. Not this new street. The old streets, old gangsters. Them cats actually were some abstract thinking cats. There were some things they would do. I'd be like, that shit's brilliant, right? But you don't need the fancy words. I think the most important thing is don't do the Cornel West, which is blind people with trash. Right? Cornel's full of trash. He just says a bunch of shit to them. Like, you trash. Because anytime you make something too complex, you're hiding behind the complexity. Let's just keep the shit 100. Right? It's trash. It's learning to, after you process abstract ideas, your goal is to process it so you can teach your daughter or your son. If you can do that, you can transfer it to your community. So in the end, like, I learned how to take these ideas and I can get in front of a high school group of kids and get these cool examples. They're like, oh shit, that makes hella sense now, right? When I'm amongst entrepreneurs, I'm trying to get them to stretch their brain. So when they're in the heat of battle, they're ready to go. I tried to talk down thing earlier, and what happened was I got so low in my talking that I started hearing people repeat it back to me. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? Because I made it too simple. And so here's the thing with the way the brain works. If I have a way of thinking, say I have this operating system that thinks this way, and I introduce these ideas that really should be this operating system. By the time it gets to your operating system, you're gonna fuck it up. You're gonna fuck it up real bad. So I had to design it differently so I can give people room to go, oh shit, I need to change my operating system. But a lot of people sitting in this class, a lot of people online were sitting in this class trying to leave their operating system alone and just add some knowledge to it. And they didn't realize they was computing some shit I didn't understand no more. I was like, I don't know what the fuck. And they would tell people, oh, Donna taught me this. I'm like, no, the fuck I didn't. Right? And so I had to take time. But when I'm working with somebody, I'm just trying to give advice here and there. I learned to simplify things. Also, I give room for human beings to figure it out. Because human beings, even when they're doing stupid shit, they're smarter than you realize. Human beings, this whole idea of dumb people versus good people, humans are smarter than you fucking realize. If you just give them right ecosystem, you'll be blown away what they'll find and figure out on their own. So sometimes if we try to over-educate or control the delivery of information, we sometimes even undermine that knowledge. Let's hit the next slide. All right, you ready to get into this one? Because we ain't finished Circle Genius.
Yes.
All right, everybody cool on the I had to hit y'all on a couple of. I'm gonna continue to give you guys complex things that's gonna open the way you think. I'm trying to really get you guys to build a different relationship with probability, randomness, uncertainty, and then invisible abstract systems you don't know they exist. But I'm gonna spoon feed you and then kind of stack them on top of each other until because like either this correlation versus causation. So in business, if I'm giving you advice, right, most advice is based upon theory, right? Do you realize most theories are correlations? Take time with that. You know why most theories are correlations? I don't know what your situation is. Have you guys ever learned some shit from white folks and realized it doesn't apply in the black community? And vice versa? Or some shit that works really good with poor people and work with rich people? You may give me your theory, but it's a correlation. I mean, when I do this, this happens. But does that mean that's a causation, though? When you do this, does that cause that? Does it always cause that, no matter what situation you're in? So most theories are correlations. Give you high correlations, right? Meaning that when this thing happened, this other thing happens. So it's easy to assume when this thing happens, this causes this to happen. It could be coincidence. It could be luck. It could be randomness. Okay, I'm trying not to go too far. Okay, do you realize that most things that happened in history was not a plan, a conspiracy? It was random shit that unfolded, but when we looked backwards, we thought it was a conspiracy? White folks were not that organized. They didn't plan it that perfectly. They did not. But when you look backwards, you be like, oh, this shit's a conspiracy. Because your brain needs an answer. Your brain is always trying to bring order to disorder.
What is the difference between a theory and a principle? Or the distinction between
a principle is these ideas, these abstract ideas that in many cases they work. But even in principles, all principles are guided by the game you're playing.
For example.
So there's, God, I'm trying to go because I need to take time on some of this. There's different degrees. So for example, let's say the amount of players. That principle changes based on the players, the amount of time, the whys, right? Some principles that may work over in one country based upon other may not work over here, right? So principles are usually tied to these are the things that are usually yielded in the world we live in. So usually principles have a universal effect, but they are all tweaked based upon the different scenarios. So even mental models, which are principles, show up differently depending on mental models is the way you need to think to look into something, but often because of the complexity of life, things can ultimately be what's the word I'm looking for? Calibrated or not calibrated, customized.
Yeah. Whereas theory is often academic.
Theory is just human beings' way of describing attributes.
Mm.
I'm transferring attributes. Mm. And so if I'm transferring attributes, when I transfer my theory to you, it's just a correlation. It's not a causation. It can become a causation, but you have to go through something to get there.
Okay.
All right, that was a little heavy stuff. All right, let's lighten up a little bit. Let's go on to the next level. I want to hit you hard because if I hit you hard last, y'all be like, man, you got me fucked up. I'm asleep. Sorry, did y'all record that shit? Because I was knocked out. So, all right, go ahead. Trust me when I say that the stuff I'm about to explain to you, when you get into like real complex decision making, your current logic won't work. If I take you out of if you're used to, if you never ran a large organization and you never made a certain path, you never had to manage a certain amount of money, if I just took you right now and put you in that role of making decisions, you're going to fail. You're going to absolutely fail. If you watch, make it simple. If you watch basketball every day, you love basketball. You watch it on TV all the time. Are you qualified to be a coach? Are you qualified to be a GM? That's the same thing with business. Let's roll.
First, you have to be willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Learning comes when experience meets reflection.
Stop real quick. Remember that focus time shit he talked about? Remember you talking about being in the moment? If you don't practice those two, you have no reflection time. That fast moving, that that new thing, how the new trend, you think your value is tied to being busy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got things going. I got 2 cell phones and shit. I be on. Hey man, listen now, man. I'm gonna work on this project real quick. Anyway, tell me what you want. I can still do both at the same time. You're a motherfucking lie. You trash. First of all, the brain doesn't. Everybody knows the brain doesn't do a task. It does one. It just jumps back and forth, right? But it jumps back and forth with low focus. When you're in this class and you take this class or you do any form of reading, create reflection time. Let me make it even simpler. Create quiet, bored time for you to think. So, my wife got back, and y'all know I went into survivor mode because I was trying to do a task and shit with the trash, right? $10,000 worth of fucking mistakes in 1 week. So, Shakita called me. She's like, "Yo, you good?" I was like, "Yeah, I know what I got to do." She's like, "No, you good?" I know what I got to do, which is I got to slow the fuck down, breathe, and stop and just take one moment at a time. And by me slowing down, also tell my brain, slow the fuck down. We're in the rush to focus on this task. When you finish the task, go on to the next one. In the morning, sit down what you need to do. If the shit don't make sense, throw the shit off the table, right? But just show up differently. And also my driving slowed down, my movement slowed down, my timing slowed down, and my deeper focus came back. Okay. But so my wife gets back and she's like, "Yo, okay, where's this?" And I was like, "Cool, no, it's over there." I'm trying to read. "Where's this?" And I said, "It's over there." And then she goes, Did you? I said, "Look, goddamn, I'm studying. I'm studying." She's, "Fine." And I was like, "No, you missed the point. If I'm studying, I need that moment to read, reflect. If you see me in a room doing this, I can't talk all day long. If I'm talking all day long, I'm taking away my reflection time. I need time to sometimes be like, read something and just sit there. I might be on YouTube hitting the button like this, but I'm not even there. I'm really gone, right? And I'm processing. And you might think, "Oh no, we gotta talk." No, we don't need to talk right now. Because when I'm ready to talk, I come out the room like, "Yo, what's up? What's up? How you doing?" But as an entrepreneur, you gotta create quiet, silent time for reflection to process the information you're learning. Otherwise, if you never spend time reflecting, in one ear, out the other, in one ear, out the other, aha moments, that's deep. I love black people do that shit. No, and it's out the other ear. You have to stop and go, how's that tied to me? Fuck, you know what? Oh, shit. That means, wait a minute, does that mean this? Oh, no, I need to do some more about that shit. Then the learning's starting to happen. So just reading by itself without reflection, it's just like going to work out without your cool downs, without your recovery. If you don't have your recovery, you'll go from working out hard to laying in Highland. You have to have your reflection time.
That's a hospital, by the way.
Okay, go ahead.
That's a hospital, by the way.
Yeah, those of you not from Oakland online, that's a hospital. Like the reality is that you have to have time where you have to reflect on this game. Keep going.
You can learn from your own experiences, or you can learn from the experience of others.
Through what?
Books, articles, and conversations.
So some of us black folks, let's keep it real. Y'all think conversation is the only way to learn. 100. Let me help y'all out for some of y'all who have discomfort reading. If you don't wear glasses, it could be you need glasses. And the muscle in your eye stresses so much unconscious to you because you still can see the words, but your muscle squeezing the eye to adjust the eye and it makes you sleepy. It could also be that you haven't practiced reading yet, and when you first start reading, it's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel like, oh my God, wrap it up, get to the point. It's supposed to get on your nerves. Do you know I practice reading? So there's books I read 2 years ago that gave me a headache that feels like Jane Chase Bob up the hill now. It seems simple as fuck right now. I practice reading books that make my head hurt because that's how my brain grows stronger. If all the books I read are easy, I'm probably staying within my comfort zone, which means I'm not really learning shit. I'm just trying to really build an argument. You reading just to build arguments and have more words for your fucking arguments. Now you sound like Cornel West. I ain't saying shit. Keep going. Oh, fuck Cornel West. He's the worst. Go ahead.
One day I'm gonna tell you that's my cousin.
I'm gonna tell you, go talk to that cat because he's tripping on them goddamn words he's saying. Ain't no black. Is any black folks ever understand what the fuck he's saying? Is it just me? I'm a well-read motherfucker. Like I got words for words and words on top of words. I got words I remember I have. One day somebody just say some shit to me and I'd be like, I can't believe I still remember that fucking word, right? But when Cornelius West is speaking, I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? And I consider myself a pretty intelligent cat. But he's speaking to other academics and he's arguing for his status. He's not really talking to us. So when you listen to him, it's almost like you snuck into the back room when academics are trying to prove their value to each other. Do you know in 1950, if you would have read professor's academic paper, everybody in this room could have read it? And then over years, they decided they wanted to fight for value and status. So they started to add math and statistics and complexity to say, my language. Economics has been arguing its value for quite some time because people say economics is philosophy. It's not really a science, but they've tied all this science shit to make it feel more scientific. History's done the same thing. So what you see is academic internal battles playing itself out in the streets. So when I say fuck Cornel West, I don't understand why people like him so fucking much. Like, unless you just want to get, unless you like puzzles and shit, and he's just speaking like, I'm gonna write that shit down, I'm gonna figure that shit out when I get home too, I'm gonna figure what that shit means, and still you don't know what the fuck he said. Anyway, keep going.
Learning everything on your own is costly and slow.
Black people, I asked a brother today, I said, he's running his own business, I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, give me your routines. He said, well, I wake up in the morning, I eat, I meditate, and I try to figure it out. I let him go on. And I was like, yo, that shit's trash, bro. Like, there's things you don't know. You don't have time to be trying to figure it out. Figure it out means that you're going to die a broke slave. By the time you figure it out, you're 85. You ain't got nobody left. Get the fuck out of here. The way you want to, you in a game of competition. You don't have time to move slow. You can't be on a yellow bus and be competing in high-level, Olympic-level performances. Get off the yellow bus of, I'm figuring it out. In the world of business, I'm figuring out it's a yellow bus. And you're trying to play this Olympic game. So that means you're going to have to develop practices of learning. So what I told him is an hour and a half a day. Start off with 3 to 4 days. Eventually, you will get to 6 days a week where you spend at least an hour a day studying. Because you can't take the ideas that you already have and produce new shit. It's too slow. You just mix it. You just trying to know, okay, well, maybe A go in front of B. No, okay, maybe B on top of A. No, maybe A under B. Maybe I just pull B back and hold A in front of me. No, I'm going to hold A, B in front of me. You know what? Somehow I'm going to figure this A, B shit out. Motherfuckers D, E, F, G, H, I. Motherfucker, give it out A and B. But that's how some of us are moving. We're over here spending hours on A and B. Put that shit down. We on C, D, E, F, G. Motherfucker, we on numbers now. Fuck wrong with you? So I'm just saying, like, it's just, like, you can't just figure this shit out. You just keep taking the same variables and moving the motherfuckers around. You got to learn new variables, new ways of using your brain. Your brain, the human brain is not a computer, but it's fucking amazing. And if you keep using the same as variables, you keep producing the same results. You just keep coming from different angles. You know, I'm going to go this way this day. And, oh, shit, okay, I'm in the same place. Fuck. Well, you know what? I'm using my skateboard this time. Oh, fuck. You have the same results. All right, finish this one. Come on.
You are one person. Learning from the experiences of others is much more productive.
Thank you. Keep going.
You need to always approach your circle with curiosity, seeking out information that can help you expand and strengthen it.
He just said that, right? He just said that approach your circle with curiosity, seeking out information that can help you expand to the next slide.
Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself.
Okay. You know why you can't learn from mistakes of others? Ego's the enemy. Look, if you're not curious, I had a conversation with Ken about this earlier this week. if you're not curious around people and kind of just in observation mode more than talking mode, then you won't pick up on shit. You'll miss it every fucking time. A genius could be sitting right next to you, and because you don't know what questions to ask them, you miss the whole fucking conversation. But let me tell you how you innocently do it. This is an innocent way, and it's a justifiable way. Remember, what gets you here won't get you here, right? So I'm very, very admirable. She just doesn't know it yet because she be second guessing shit, but I respect her a lot. But what got her out of the hole, some of those habits take a little while to go away. Survival. You know what survivors do when they get around people? They talk about themselves. They become narcissists overnight. They want to prove themselves. They want to try to finagle themselves into a position because they're fighting for survival. They're not flawed. They're not bad. When you're in survival mode, I'm doing this. I got this going on. Let me tell you this. You know what else I know? I knew this. This person is. If you ever go somewhere in a survival party, ain't nobody about to ask nobody no questions. We're going to try to out-talk each other and claim highest status and then break. And then we'll be walking away like, oh, he ain't doing all that shit. Oh, damn, he killing it now, right? Whatever the fuck we going to say. But what we didn't do is go, hey, what are you doing now? Tell me more about that. Give me some insights. How'd you get there, right? Most of us can't learn from others because we don't feel like we're good enough and we're too busy doing ego dances in front of each other. We have to get to the point where we say, okay, I'm cool. I'm going to spend more time in a curious space. Bring my ego down some and see who's in front of me. And I don't need to impress him. It doesn't mean you don't talk. But your main goal is, I really want to see this person's perspective. Why do you want to see this person's perspective? Because in business, life is about multiple perspectives. You having a rich perspective is a flaw. You have to have your rich perspective and other perspectives to see broader. So when you're around people, we stop that natural transfer of experience because our ego is saying, look at me. Yeah. Or you ever seen this before? Yo, so I just brought a Benz. Oh, shit, man, I just brought a motherfucking Rolls Royce. You ever seen the people do that before? That's ego dancing. You don't even say, oh, why'd you buy that Benz? Oh, my God, so tell me about that Benz. You too busy like, what kind of wheels you get? That's the kind of wheels you got. Oh, you know what wheels you should have got? You got these ones over here. They better than those ones you got. But no, those are cool though. Ego dancing. This is when ego becomes the enemy because you won't allow the natural process of growth. And I promise you, you can learn from anybody. I don't give a fuck with the economic level. I don't give a fuck their background. I don't give a fuck with their age. I learn more from kids than I did from some adults sometimes. But some of us are in this space where we're too busy projecting and we're not receiving. Next one.
Second, you need to monitor your track record in areas which you have or want to have a circle of competence.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have the courage to monitor honestly so the feedback can be used to your advantage.
Okay. This is kind of one that I've been wanting to talk about. This is one of the lower in. These are one of the things I talked about the first year I taught this class. Black folks, this Oakland non-integrity, this hood non-integrity shit we do, we give our word, we don't show up. I talked to my cousin about this, right? I mean, my nephew. My nephew came to me and said, man, let me tell you about, give me some evaluation of my business. I think his name of his business was like Integrity Builders. I said, do you have integrity? He goes, I'm working on that. I said, okay. He's like, shit. Okay, I'm working on that. But it was one of those things where giving these promises, not following up, how you show up to spaces, how angry you get on shit. How do you respond to, is your first word to feedback but? Do you come off as too sensitive to the point it's just too much to talk to you? Are you so social justice that if I just make one mistake, you just waiting to call me a name? Do you pay attention to how you show up to your environment to enhance how you can extract from the environment? How you position yourself in relationships shapes what you get out of relationships. Be one of those people that always tell those soft white lies all the time. People not fucking with you. Be one of those people that have attitude all the time. They're not fucking with you. Be one of the kind of people that just get, when you do get mad, say you cool most of the time, but when you get mad, you get mad. They not fucking with you. You guys know what trauma is, right? So one traumatic event can fuck up hella shit, right? Do you know in a conversation with somebody you can create trauma? So you fucked up all the conversations moving forward. You're like, damn, you didn't invite me to a baseball game? Nah, motherfucker. Shit, no, it's too much. Just too motherfucking much. Go to a restaurant. Bill comes. I had a partner. Well, it was a partner for a week. And we all went to a restaurant, like 7 of us. The food came. He goes, "Shit, I ain't got no money." It was straight up. He didn't even flinch. "I ain't got no money. Hope y'all can cover me." Oh, we not fucking with you ever. Look, I haven't seen him since. He positioned himself out the relationship. Or the bill come, and all of a sudden you become a professional, CFO. Okay, let me look at this real quick. So if I add up my interest, okay, I got about $27 on that. It should leave me about $2 tip on top of that. But if we combine that between the 4 of us, that's $8 tip. So we close to 10%. So I'm gonna throw another motherfucker. If you don't sit down, right? We're not inviting you out again. Come over to the house and have no etiquette. We're not fucking with you. You got to think about how you position yourself at all times around people to get the max out of your surroundings. Do you realize that most of my growth came through relationships over advertisement? That means you know how much positioning I have to do all the time? Position. Men, I can't speak to women because I'm not an expert in women. Either some of my sisters give me some great encouragement, including Tennille. I don't know where Tennille is. She's probably left the room as soon as I said this. But men, don't give your word if you can't keep it. Just don't fucking give it. That's man shit. Man 101. I can't speak for women. I don't know the rules, don't know the game. And we have enough alpha females around us. Y'all can speak up. But don't give your word is your bond. You shouldn't need a contract. Because if you say yes, like in the 70s back, men did business by a handshake. My word was my bond. Now some of you slimy cats, you gotta go get about 5 lawyers because y'all be full of shit. Right? The reality is that your word is your bond. That's positioning. Right? Be in the right place. Look, your best friend gets married. I lost a friend because something was special. It was one of my big birthday parties. And he couldn't be there because his new chick flew in town. And he wanted to go kick it with her. And he didn't want her to be around his friend because he didn't want to be with her like that. Friendship ended. We ended our friendship. Because why? Like, being in certain places at a certain time is important. It's important. If it's important to you, I need to know that. If I'm positioning you don't understand that this business stuff and this learning stuff, because the people who give you some of the best feedback is those who can really see you. And they won't fuck with you if you've already slapped them all across the face. You guys get that? Stop thinking that the pop culture or the person across the street or the person like, "Oh, you are fabulous, Shamisha. I love your shoes. You always fly as hell. Oh my God." And he'd be like, "Well, she gave me some feedback the other day. She can't fucking see you. Cut it out. Stop that shit. Find people who can see you. And the people can see you, that means think about how you show up to that circle to maximize the return on your feedback, to maximize the feedback that you need to perform at a higher level. And I'm going to promise you this. There's things I'm going to teach you later on. There's certain biases you can't stop. Even if I tell you right now, you'll still do them right after I tell you because you can't stop them. And you need a healthy, close feedback circle group of people who say, "Yo, you fucking up." And you got to let people come in close. So you got to take down that, okay, I can fight really well, and I like to shoot. But all the soldiers in my circle don't feel my heat. Court, have you felt some heat from me ever? It's not going to happen. I need Court. I need Court to be like, "Yo, Nana, that shit ain't cool, bruh." All that, I can't do machismo with him. I can be like, "Oh, I'm hella tight. You don't need to tell me shit. I know everything. No. Because if I do that too much, he'd be like, "Okay, then, fucking didn't know everything then." Right? It's like I got to give him, even when he's not asking for permission, I got to always make him comfortable to tell me you fucking up. Once I make him not feel like he's not comfortable, I'm taking a loss because I need him. Some of y'all don't want to say that because y'all think y'all hella macho. I don't need nobody. This world got you fucked up. You need somebody. Yeah, we can tell. Anyway, so the rest, so the reality is that don't give a fuck with me on my speaking. So the reality is that you need people that's close to you. The people close to you, provide them. Stop fighting. Because some of us came out of the ghetto, and we know how that shit works. Y'all been in a ghetto house? It's like arguing is TV. This shit is on all the time. This shit is on all the time. The kids be getting cussed out. My mama used to cuss the fuck out of me. I grew up hella poor, right? Like, I got cussed out so many times, I just stopped hearing it. Whatever. Yeah, you gonna say the same shit. Then she hit me, right? That's even wrong. Some of y'all never broke that rhythm. The comrades that's close to you, cut out that fighting. Cut out that low frequency shit. Raise the value of relationship. Focus on, see the value of the people in your life, because those are people going to help you get out of your own way. Next slide. I'm going to do 2 more slides and we're going to call it a night. Let's roll it.
The reason we have such difficulty with overconfidence, as demonstrated in studies which show that most of us are much worse drivers, lovers, managers, traders, and many other things than we think we are, is because we have a problem with honest self-reporting.
It's not even, when we use the word problem, it's not that we're stupid or flawed. We really can't see ourselves. There's a rule that says most people think they're a good dancer is not as good as they think they are. If you ever took any kind of dance class, 80% of the people think they can dance. 5% of them can. But in their head, and some of them are arguing like, you know what, y'all need to change the dance floor because we fucking up my right step. No, you just have no right step, bro. Come on, cut it out, man. I can put you on ice skates. You still ain't got no right step. Come on, man. So keep going.
We don't know. We don't keep the right records because we don't really want to know what we're good and bad at.
Okay. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you know how you always say you're good at stuff? Have you ever told me what you're bad at? If you can't say that, I can't trust what you're good at. You lose your, like, in business, you got to have that self-harsh honesty. I'm suck at this. I'm not good at this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing over here. But when you start saying, I'm good, you can't be good at that many things. You might be better than most, and most people suck anyway. Being good requires time. I have my wife's sister. There's this young lady named Anissa, and she's a bass player. She's funky as fuck. When she first sang, I was like, oh my God, she can't sing for shit. I recently heard her sing online. I was like, God damn, she can sing her ass off. What'd she do? She practiced. She went to professionals, went to school. That motherfucker was raw as shit. When she first came out, she was cool. You know, it was like, oh, that's cool. She can play bass. That's cool. Oh my God. But that's just to took that shit serious as fuck. Continue to stay in some of the top schools of music. Take this shit professionally. If y'all were to hear her sing today, y'all be like, she couldn't sing at one time? It's mind-blowing how good she could sing. And when she first sang, she wasn't even singing. She knew she wasn't a singer. But she stayed with it. Now, she could have took that first time somebody was like, oh my God, and everybody went crazy because it's family, friends, whatever, and said, shit, I'm a good singer. At this point, she starts to copy and paste bad behavior. And then she starts saying, well, the reason they hated on me, the reason, Princeton let me play with him because the reason this person, Janet Jackson, she be tripping, and oh my God, that's why I be fucking with these old raggedy ass haters and da, da. No, you can't sing. And that's how it starts. It starts from that early dishonest blindness, poor feedback, your mind saying I'm good at all these different things. And if I ever put you in competition, you will lose. Because then you realize, oh, these people do this shit for real. So the key thing is that when you want to call yourself good at something, measure contextually by the competition, the people you're in, have a baseline understanding of what is the baseline quality of what is really, really good. Stop using this abstract, new, reinvented version of a baseline called the Nana baseline of that I'm good or not good. Or the Shabisha baseline or the Court Smith baseline. I mean, you just made some baseline up in your fucking head. Otherwise, stop using the word good because then it will poison your practice. when you think you already arrived, how hard do you practice? You don't. You just don't. Keep going.
Ego is a powerful enemy when it comes to better understanding reality.
Next slide.
You need
Well,
to.
real quick. Why is ego a powerful enemy in understanding reality? So remember I told you guys that ego is a gateway to higher level of thinking? Because ego continues to distort so much of the data, and it becomes aggressive in implementing assumptions. It becomes aggressive in using your imagination as facts. It becomes aggressive in changing perception of your position. That even I gave you this perfect, complex matrix strategy that is relative to your situation. We went through all these hypotheses till we narrowed it down to these top 3 hypotheses. You chose this number 1 hypothesis to execute to solve your problem. And the reason that hypothesis didn't have a chance is because your ego disconnected you from reality. So when you went to implement it, you was in straight make-believe land. And think about it, most strategies are like, they're time sensitive, right? So you gotta make this move based upon this move, based on that move. Once you start that process, if your ego kicks in, it's gonna change perception of that whole process of execution. So your ego, if you don't keep it tamed at the right time, it destroys your ability to properly engage reality and solve problems. You'll be very articulate. You can go to events and sit in front of panels and say things and everything go, oh my God, you're so smart. Oh my God, you go to Hope? Damn, Hope must be teaching some dope shit. But when it comes time to solve problems, guess what? You can't. Because your ego's fucking you up. That's why when he's teaching egos, I talk to Court and say, Court, dive hard on his ego stuff, because when you get to this next level of abstract thinking, your ego is fighting it. It's fighting it. It's fighting it like a motherfucker, because your brain is designed to protect you. It's designed to find comfort. It hates uncertainty. The Uber app didn't win because it helped cars get there faster. The Uber app won because it removed uncertainty. If you're in your business, look for stages where you have uncertainty in your business. If you can remove uncertainty, it's like removing the wait time. You can remove uncertainty, it's like you will raise customers' happiness by tenfold. I was telling Court, I suppose Court is a company called Actively Black, right? It's a black company that sells clothing that celebrates blackness. And usually most pro-black clothing companies suck. They really do. Like they're hard. They're hard for my stomach, right? There's one in Philadelphia, there's another one in Texas. And when I buy their clothes, the quality be trash, the experience is trash, communication is trash. This company, Actively Black, attacked my uncertainty out the gate. Thank you. Your products will be there for 2 days, we promise you. You gonna promise me 2 days like that? Right? Then once you get the product, they're like, hey, check it in. If you didn't like it, just give it back to us. Don't even wrap it. Just take it to FedEx, give it to them. Give them the number, give it to them. They'll wrap it, send it back to us. As soon as that number comes through, we'll fire yours off. Don't even worry about it. You see how much uncertainty in removing? I'm still waiting 2 days. You know, like I went to the store and grabbed it, right? By them just removing my uncertainty, it makes me feel like I just went to the store and grabbed it. Abstract. It's not factual, but if my perception has changed, my reality has changed. Mm-hmm. So the Uber app didn't reprove the wait time. What it said was, oh, the driver is only a couple of blocks away, right? So now instead of me sitting there going, can I go get something to eat? Can I not go get something to eat? Can I get some drink? Can I get another drink? You're like, oh, I got 10 minutes. I'm going to get some drink. Removing the uncertainty raised the value of their marketing alone. So an abstract thing in business is, when do my customers experience uncertainty? So if you can understand when your customers experience uncertainty and you design a way to remove uncertainty, all of a sudden, you just change the whole customer experience.
That's game right there. That's game.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. Go ahead.
That's all I wanted to say.
I was watching Rory did a talk to retailers, and one of the things that he said is, you all focus on, essentially he was saying, you don't focus on removing things enough. There's all of this uncertainty, he said, but nobody invests in their customer service, which is very strange to me. And just to hear you say that there's a company out there actively practicing it, because I was like, okay, I can't think of who does that very well. But for you to just come in and say I want to buy something just because I want to,
The experience was
man, that's
so.
crazy.
It felt like I had no sense of like, because when you buy something new online, there's already trust is already lowered, right? Especially unless you go to like Amazon or a top brand name. Especially in this day where now more stealings is happening than I've ever seen in my life. But no, not in my life, but in the last 40 years. Because the 80s was pretty bad. But the more you remove friction and uncertainty in a business, that is your first line of attack in marketing.
What do you think then is missing from, so like Target, you can buy online, drive up, they'll drive it out to you. But there's still something about that experience that feels like assembly line-ish. It doesn't feel very personable. But I'm just wondering, to me, it's convenient as heck, for sure. But it doesn't feel like what you, as I listen to you say it, something about that impressed you.
Well, it's like Amazon impresses me. Amazon's removed all the Amazon, as much as it says buy everything you can possibly need, the simplicity of it and the guarantee of 2 days of Prime membership was gold for them. If they just went with the 4, 2, 7, 10, 9, and when those 7, 8 days do kick in, you're like, okay, cool, I can deal with that. Same thing if you order from B&H, right? B&H, they gave this card called Paybu. Paybu is, they remove taxes for anything you buy on a credit card, right? So you buy anything on credit card, buy a computer on credit card, you have to pay the taxes, right? You remove the taxes, it's a friction point for me, because anytime you pay taxes, friction, right? Then 2 days delivery, guaranteed. 3, now, where they went wrong is one time I wanted to return something, and it was just the worst experience. So you got to play your return game as part of your marketing game, right? And so where Actively Black goes really well, hey, if it doesn't fit, do you want another size? Do you want to, they said, if you want to just keep a credit with our company, we'll add $10 to your credit so you get free shipping on your next item. I said, what the hell? what the hell? I'm not penalized for you ordering from Japan and it's cut wrong for my body. You don't penalize me for that. You going with this? Removing those human friction points, maybe go, oh shit, I'm fucking with you. Because I'm never going to know Mr. Actively Black. I don't like all their designs. Sometimes I like some shit. Sometimes I'm like I'm about to do one kind. I was like, that shit's kind of tight. But there's some shit I've seen. I was like, I would never wear that shit. Right? But I'm comfortable having an online relationship because they reduced my friction points and they removed my uncertainty. And by doing those two things, you came into my house. And why some of y'all can't remove the friction point and uncertainty? Because you're defending yourself. You're defending yourself. You're not playing the long game. You're transactional. You're suffering from survivor bias. You see the game? Why the survivor she's teaching you so cold? You won't unlock these. You won't unlock these abstract solutions if self is at the forefront of all that shit. But what does it mean to me? It's not fair. Well, you know what? They just be trying to run game on me. That's what they try to do. How the fuck that's a correlation? How you know they trying to run game? You made the assumption. Yes, every time they order something, they send it back. But maybe like, hey, well, are we doing good enough communication on our cuts? Are we staying with one? Can we just narrow it down to 2 cuts and just change styles and colors? Because by having 4 cuts, it may not be serving our customer. It's that simple, right? But it's you can't learn that shit if you're too busy defending yourself. If a customer calls in complaint and you go to like, oh, she being petty, oh, she's stupid, oh my God, that make no damn sense. You're missing the fucking point. She's giving you information, even if she call you a punk. With your punk ass, with my punk ass products, with your punk ass, and then you suck. You don't say, oh, she ain't gonna talk to me like that. Your ego's doing that. You'll say, damn, why is she that upset? What uncertainty did I create for her to get her that upset? And is this something else my other customers are suffering from that they're just not coming back to us again? Thank God she called me and cussed me out because she's the first person to give me a clue there may be something there. Let me just start to keep my eyes open. You may not go to full investigation, but now I'm keeping my eyes open. You see the difference? Let's finish this out. Do we finish this one?
No.
No, this one we start. We do this last one and we going home. All right, this is it. Let's go.
You need to keep a precise diary of your trades.
Oh, shit.
If you're investing in the stock market. If you're in a leadership position, You need to observe and chronicle the results of your decisions and evaluate them based on what you were trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be honest about your failures in order to reflect and learn from them. That's what it takes.
That's impossible for a single person to do. Let me say this real quick. That's impossible for you to do. You can do a poor job of it, but it's really almost close to impossible in the real world. It's close to impossible. Is it possible? Yeah, but that's going to eat up all your time. This requires a team. Let me tell you why. I'm not going to get to. We're going to use the same slide when we come back next week. Next week we're closed, so the week after next week we're back. When we come back from class, I'm starting with this one because this is a hindsight bias. I'm going to explain this as fast as I can. This is the most important shit I'm going to ever tell you. For the night. It's more important than all this shit I taught tonight. Your hindsight bias is way more powerful than you realize. If your brain, let's say I say with Shakina, let's make a decision that's based upon probability. So there's multiple possibilities, right? So she makes a certain decision. And so the decision goes good or bad. And I come to her afterwards, maybe 2 weeks later, and say, hey, how confident in a decision were you before you made it last time we spoke? If it went good, her numbers are going to unconscious to her. I'm talking about she's not doing it intentionally. Her brain go, yeah, no, I knew that. You ever see somebody sit in class be like, as soon as I say something, they be like, yeah, I knew that. But if you pull them to the side later on, you're like, let me talk to you about your business. You're like, you didn't know that. What the fuck wrong with you? They're not lying. It's a bias your brain is trained. Some people are just more intense than the others. But here's the fucking danger of this. It creates this perception that you can make decisions based upon this flawed form of rationalization moving forward. It will destroy your ability. So you won't see the luck and how you really saw this as a 30% chance and you was really unclear on how this shit works. Your hindsight bias will look at the outcome, measure your intelligence on the outcome, and never change the quality of your thinking. Have you thinking you making dope ass decisions based upon outcomes, but never say to yourself, well, what's the percentage chance this actually doesn't work? What's the percentage chance something else could have worked? So your brain fools you because it's something that happens that even if I'm telling you this, you can't prevent it by yourself. If you have a post-mortem conversation where you sit down and go, hey, our post-mortem, so after the events went over, like, hell, what went wrong? What could we have done different? Do you realize that if I pull the numbers, if I just did statistics, like, okay, before we make this decision, y'all, let me get all your statistics. What's the chance that you think this is right? What chance you think this is right? This is right, right? And I hit those numbers for you for like 2 months. And then we did a post-mortem. And I say, okay, write down your statistics again. Your numbers will be off by 25% based upon the outcome. Meaning that you have a false sense of intelligence based upon the outcome. And if you don't have somebody, so when Shakina said something earlier, and I said, no, that's not what you did, Shakina. I wasn't being mean. You need that because it's no, everybody needs that. Because in your brain, you're going to think the outcome and what you say right now was what you were thinking before it happened. So when the next decision comes up, you doomed to use that dumbass theory and hope that luck saves your ass. But you're fooled by the outcome. Because your brain automatically does a hindsight which says, like if you go on the freeway with somebody and you're like, I knew we should get on this freeway. No, the fuck, you could have known that. Or if I say something very intelligent and it sounds like your brain goes, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I knew that. No, you don't. You don't even understand the context of what the fuck I just said. We do it all the time as humans. It's a weakness of the human brain. And some people will say, I am smart as hell based upon these outcome of the results. But if we actually looked at the process of what you went through, if I had a camera on you and I was able to ask you enough questions, you realize you didn't know a lot of shit. You made a whole bunch of guesses and the shit happened to work out. But when and you even knew the shit was flawed. You even fandangled some shit and put some tapes and wires on some shit. But in hindsight, oh no, I was a master of my shit. I know what the fuck I'm doing. When a motherfucker tells you, yeah, no, I went to school for that. You just said nothing. Your brain just played a trick on you. That means nothing to me. What did you do yesterday? What did you do before? Tell me how you got it done. If you can't tell me how you got it done, you're a student to the game. But your brain will convince you, no, I'm a master because I got a title from a school. I went to school for that. I know what I'm doing. The last time I did it, it was successful. Means nothing. Why am I saying this? Because in business, you got to repeat a lot of shit over and over and over and over. And many of you guys will lose your business after hella wins. You got all this applause by the crowd. You the winner. Oh my God, you're killing the game. And then you start to repeat that shit. And when the competition gets strong, you realize you didn't really have a strategy at all. When the Patriots was playing the Rams for that year, and they beat them by focusing on Marshall Faulk because they said, yo, it's really about the rhythm. When they redesigned the team, because they got so much praise for the win, they took a hell of losses. Because the design they created for that win wasn't a great methodology overall. It only applied to that one situation, but their brain said, no, I know what to do. I am a great coach. We know how to manage our team. We are very creative. No, you're not. You got lucky, motherfucker. It's that simple. That shit, this is actually, that's why sometimes, okay, so the reason I wanted to grow, when I was teaching this class 4 years ago, I got tired of motherfuckers being smarter than me. That's my ego talking maybe. That's just my machismo. I told you my pronoun is macho. And when my man kicked in, I was like, yo, I'm not comfortable looking at other men like they're my gurus. I'm not gonna call another man my guru. I respect all men who bring me knowledge, but I'm not about to worship nobody. And if you impress me that much, I want to see where the fuck you got it from. So I told Court about 3 years ago, yo, I'm about to learn the scale and shit. So hold it down for me, Court, right? But I'm gonna learn the scale and shit. And when I started learning the scale and shit, I started realizing, now I can go back and read these books and be like, yo, he didn't explain this well. This one paragraph here is an invisible thing that without a proper feedback group, you cannot defeat it. There's nobody in this room, there's nobody in the sound of my voice can defeat this. This is why when he told you, Kaja, Shakina, tighten up this, let that feedback come through, because it's a stopping point, a hard stopping point where you won't get past that point whatsoever because your brain won't let you get past that point. Your brain's gonna lie to you so much to protect you, and everybody in this room brain is gonna lie to them. But the person who resists feedback, that's the end of your game. You game over for you. You done. You might just be a small business to the day you die. I had my own little radio store. I fixed radios till I died, and I just died old. That's the fuck you gonna do. But to grow past yourself, you got to have others because your brain is full of limitations. Even when you design a meeting for a post-mortem, you got to know how to design that meeting properly to maximize the outcome. Otherwise, when you design that meeting, your group dishonesty is going to kick in, and your leadership dishonesty is going to kick in. How you going to judge your employees is going to kick in. And all those distortions are going to kick in so fast, you're going to make hella bad decisions. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Y'all get that? We good before I go home? I promise you, this is one of the, like, if you take a picture of this one, think about this one. I'm going to take some time to teach a deeper hindsight bias. Hindsight bias is the most evil bias there is because you can learn all about it and ain't shit you can do about it by yourself. You can't do shit. If I didn't have Mashama jamming me up every day at the office going, that ain't true, bro. That ain't what you really feel. Fuck what you said. If he didn't say that to me, I would have destroyed 510 Media. Because I would have had a false sense of, I'm doing this, I'm killing this, I'm tight at this. You suck, and double suck. Pause. Shut up. So, with that being said, as they say in East Oakland in the 80s, let's get the fuck up out of here. All right, y'all have a good night, dog. Peace.